They call him the Southern Moonlight Demon. Clevitus is one of the top 4 demon lord. He freaking hates humans and sees them as nothing but bugs. But as fate would have it, during his crusade to wipe out the human race, a mere baby ends up softening his heart, and he takes the kid in as his own. Now he's forced to hide his real powers and blend in with humans, acting like some nobody. Right at the start of the story, a young girl accompanies her dad out to their farm. Once they're done, he tells her it's time to head back home. On their way, she takes a curious look around the house and notices a map of Edzi. Beyond the map, she sees there's nothing but darkness, just their continent completely surrounded by pitch black zones. It makes her wonder what lies beyond that darkness. With curiosity burning, she turns to her father, asking what's out there beyond their city, something even he can't explain. Her father sees her curiosity, wishing he could offer an answer, but honestly, he doesn't know either. He explains that every human is born with this same drive, always wanting to know more. But every single time they've tried venturing into those dark areas, it's ended badly. He breaks it down for her, saying 4 mighty demons each control one of the 4 directions around Edzi: north, south, east, and west, and every expedition that's tried getting past them has been completely wiped out. The girl is stunned by this, trying to grasp how truly dangerous those zones must be, but it doesn't scare her away. Her father continues, saying that until those demons are defeated, they'll never find out what lies beyond the map. Still, he believes every challenge has its solution, mentioning the ancient treasures wielded by legendary heroes. Only heroes armed with special swords could ever face the demons. Without one of those heroes, there's simply no way they'll win this fight. This only ignites her determination even more. She dreams of becoming one of those heroes. She wants to fight. If she can just get hold of the Sword of Haydn, she's certain she can challenge the demons. Once those demons fall, they'll finally discover the secrets hidden in the darkness beyond the map. A few years go by, and our girl Alicia ain't a kid anymore. She's grown up, becoming one of the heroes chosen to fight. She closes her eyes and opens them again inside the truck that's taking them toward the city's outskirts. Holding the chain around her neck, she quietly tells her father that the moment is finally here, the moment she's got to step up and protect their city. She's not making this journey alone. Several other heroes are right there with her. As the trip goes on, they start chatting and introducing themselves. There are some real standout folks among them. Minarch, the one holding the sacred treasure called the Golden Ideal, straight up says he's got no clue where he originally came from. They all glance at Alicia, asking her to introduce herself next. They're shocked to see a woman among them, but Alicia doesn't even bother saying anything. As they get closer to their destination, Stefan, the guy carrying the sacred treasure Tenma, the winged horse, warns everyone they're almost there. They whisper among themselves, noting how Stefan's supposed to be the strongest one here. Suddenly, the truck stops, and the driver tells them the carriage can't go any farther. They barely start getting off when demons suddenly attack, taking down a few heroes before they can even hit the ground. Stefan shouts at them to jump out and fight, organizing them quickly into groups. The archers and lancers immediately move into action, while Stefan tells the rest he'll pair up with Alicia to handle any demons still standing. Thing is, Alicia's got her own treasure, Iwatubane, the legendary stone swallow. She joins Stefan, charging straight into battle beside him. Alicia's strong and charismatic, but the most impressive thing about her is how aware she is of everything around her. On the mountain just ahead stands one of the demon lords, who starts speaking about the nature of chaos. He admits the world itself was born from chaos, and if that's true, then he himself must be born from it too. He might have a point, but as the battle rages on, the heroes jump over hills and mountains, fighting their way through till they finally reach the summit. Stefan's particularly fired up. Being known as the smartest among them, he thinks it's fair he should ask the demon lord his name. He declares to everyone that today's the day they'll prove their strength, showing the people who chose them that they picked the right heroes for this fight. As soon as they reach Mount Moon, the demon lord makes his entrance, and just looking at him sends a chill through the group. His presence alone is terrifying. This is Clevitus, the Southern Moonlight Demon, and even without saying a word, he makes the whole mountain feel heavier. Stefan gets shoved back, and though fear floods his face, he admits what's in front of them is terrifying. But they were sent for this, and they can't back down now. They're not alone, they're heroes, and together they believe they can turn legend into reality. Stefan tries to move, but Clevitus hits him from far away, slams him against the wall, and kills him in one blow. The others freeze in shock, not just because he died, but because Clevitus never even moved. One of them steps up to lead and pushes the others to fight, while Alicia holds back for a second, reading the terrain. As the rest close in, Clevitus kills them without leaving his place. That's when Alicia figures it out and yells that he's using his shadows, and if they want to live, they need to stay away from them. They don't know how to do that, but Alicia starts jumping and running through the mountain. The shadow moves toward her, and she becomes the first to notice the attack before it hits and actually responds. Clevitus's eyes shine with surprise. Maybe this won't be as easy as the last group. He doesn't care, but it grabs his attention. This is humanity, and though he hasn't faced them in 1,000 years, what he sees now isn't what he remembers. They used to be weak, no stronger than bugs, but now they've got strength, they've got purpose, and they're not giving up. He's got no clue what's pushing them like this, but he wants to find out. The heroes all go after him, and one by one, he takes them out. Alicia's the last to fall. She's thrown into the sky, eyes closing as death reaches her, and in her final breath, she says sorry to her father, telling him she couldn't make her dream real. Over in capital Hideout, the heart of the Hidden Kingdom, people are going about their day like nothing's wrong, completely unaware that something is coming straight for them. That something is Clevitus, bursts out from the mountain facing the city, and the moment he shows up, panic spreads like wildfire. The people run, terrified, but Clevitus isn't attacking them out of rage. He's just curious, doesn't give a crap about their lives, just wants to figure out what they're planning. He remembers that the ones who came after him before called themselves heroes, saying they were sent by the king of Haydn. So now, his goal is simple: cut through anything standing in his way until he reaches that king. Villagers scatter in fear, running for their lives, while the knights kick into gear, scrambling to defend the capital. Archers line up and launch their attacks, arrows raining down on him, but Clevitus doesn't even flinch. Instead of fighting back, he flies above the rooftops, gliding through the city so he can get to the palace and see for himself what kind of force is driving these people. The knights rush to reinforce the palace gates, firing more arrows, but nothing touches him. He watches their efforts with zero concern, and it becomes clear they're weaker than he expected. He lifts one hand, throws it at the wall, and the entire thing crashes down like it was nothing but paper. That's when the knights realize they're screwed. One of them takes off, rushing to warn the king that a demon is in the city. The king doesn't even look surprised. If a demon made it this far, then there's only one conclusion: those so-called heroes failed. He gets up from his seat and starts walking. There's only one thing left to protect now: the blade of Haydn. Another knight runs in, shouting that the demon is tearing through the city and can't be stopped, and the king should hide. But if that thing really can't be stopped, then running is pointless, because no matter where he goes, it'll catch up to him eventually. The knights keep throwing flames and arrows at Clevitus, trying everything they can, but he knows nothing they do will change a damn thing. Still, there's strength in it. He remembers how Alicia's sword had managed to hit him and leave a mark. That memory sticks, reminding him that if humans are left alone, they'll eventually get stronger. He's not the one stepping into their world, they're the ones coming for his. And to him, that's all the reason he needs to bring the fight to them. The king moves closer to the door, ready to protect the blade, but as soon as he opens it, Clevitus appears. From the way the man looks, the crown, the clothes, the palace behind him, Clevitus doesn't need to ask, knows he's the king. Clevitus speaks in human language, and the king freezes. A demon speaking like a man that alone shakes him. He asks how a creature like Clevitus could even understand their words. But Clevitus already knows who he's talking to. He tells the king he's the only one who might be able to save humanity. He's not here for war, not yet. He's got questions, and depending on the answers, humanity either lives or dies. When he says humanity, he's not talking about just Haydn. He means Org, Dawn, Suladen, Bent, the whole damn world. His question is simple. He wants to know what kind of people they are, what twisted reasons made them march into the demon kingdom and attack his land. The king stares back without fear and says, he's not answering a demon's questions. Clevitus doesn't ask twice. He cuts the king's head off right there and walks out without looking back. To him, that was enough proof. Humans are dangerous, and that makes them a threat. So now, they must be destroyed. But he knows he can't do that alone. He needs allies, a group that can follow him and help him finish the job. As he leaves the palace, a sharp cry echoes through the air. A baby, held in the arms of a dying mother, screams in pain and fear. Clevitus hears it but barely reacts. It's just another human. But the mother speaks, begs him to save the child, her voice low and broken. Clevitus stares, surprised she's even speaking to him. She's begging the one who plans to end everything. He tells her if the kid dies, she should blame the fact he was born human. But the woman answers through her pain, saying the baby never got to choose how he was born. Clevitus couldn't give a shit, but he looks her in the eye and says if she wants him to spare that kid, then she better give him a reason why. She struggles to speak, reminds him she's dying and can't prove anything right now, but says one thing with full certainty: the child will prove his worth when he grows up. And with that, she takes her final breath. Clevitus stands there, silent, then picks up the baby. He's not buying it, but watching a human grow doesn't take much effort. So if this kid's gonna prove something, he'll wait and see. Across this wide land, 5 main human races live in different parts of the world. First, the Kingdom of Dawn holds the biggest population. Then come the Orgites, brave and fierce with horns on their heads. Next are the Sladens, quiet types who avoid dealing with anyone outside their kind. Then the Benti, demonic in appearance, but loaded with raw power. Last, the Hydanians, the smallest race, looking the most like normal humans. They're also the smartest, known for crafting weapons from a rare crystal called arcanosite. But only the royal bloodline knows the true method behind it. They've been selling those weapons to the Dawn race, and that deal led the 2 races to take on missions together, forming mixed bloodlines. Even so, full-blooded Hydanians are now rare. Outside their kingdom, wild dark beasts roam, violent and uncontrollable. Deep in the Luna Mountains, Clevitus, in his massive form with 9 long tails, scares off a few beasts that try to eat the baby. The kid cries out, loud and scared, and Clevitus worries this little creature might not last long if it keeps screaming like that. He wraps around the baby, thinking how to shut him up for a while, then gently taps the child's forehead with one claw, and the baby falls asleep. While staring at the baby, Clevitus starts to get the feeling it's about to drop a little surprise, and sure enough, not long after, the kid wakes up crying while unloading a nasty mess that hits his nose hard. It pisses him off, but instead of getting rid of the child, he picks it up and walks off, hoping to find a way to deal with this disgusting problem. He ends up throwing the baby into a pit full of bugs, not the dangerous kind, just the ones that love feeding on poop. As the bugs enjoy their meal, Clevitus mutters something ridiculous about humans growing up in a few nights, clearly showing he knows nothing about raising one. He glances down at the child and realizes he doesn't even know who it is, doesn't know its name, or why he even bothered turning back to pick it up in the first place. He blames his soft heart for that, but it's too late for regrets. He's not going to return it, not with the pride he holds as the Lord of Dark Beasts, and since he already made the decision to raise the kid, he'll see it through. Problem is, he has no idea how humans live or what they eat, and there's no way he can raise the baby alone. Looking over the fresh corpses nearby, he picks out one Alicia. She had led a failed assault against him, driven by the pain of losing her father to dark beasts, thinking she could win by charging into his territory with an army, but it all ended in disaster. Now, she's the one he chooses to bring back. With a wave of dark power, he revives her. The moment she wakes up, she tries to attack, but quickly notices her sword is gone and her comrades are nowhere in sight. Clevitus tells her with full pride that she's alive only because he revived her, which means she's nothing more than a walking dead under his control. She freezes, staring at him in silence, stunned not just by the fact that she's the only one left, but by how fluently this demon speaks the human language. Meanwhile, Clevitus orders her to reveal her fun bags, and the moment she hears that, Alicia instantly thinks he's trying to make some twisted move on her. She freezes up in fear, completely shocked that the Lord of Dark Beasts would dare make such advances. But before her dirty thoughts can spiral any further, he cuts her off and makes it clear the order isn't about her. It's about the hungry baby that won't stop crying. He tells her to take off her armor and bring out her milk tanks immediately. Since he'd infused his dark energy into her body, her will isn't exactly her own. She had no choice but to reveal the chesticles, lifting her top with obvious shame, exposing what he asked for even though she hates every second of it. Clevitus takes a good look, then suddenly realizes there's no milk. Looks like someone forgot to fill the tanks before the damn show. To clear the confusion, Alicia educates him on a basic fact that a woman needs to have given birth before she can produce any milk. The embarrassment of showing off empty tanks hits her hard, and she begs him to kill her and put her out of her misery. But he ignores her whining while the two argue back and forth over something that clearly isn't helping the baby. The child starts crying again, But instead of dealing with the issue, they keep bickering over how the kid even ended up in his hands in the first place. Fed up with the pointless chatter, Clevitus snaps and demands she figure out how to feed the damn thing. She admits she doesn't know much about raising kids, but says the baby needs a woman who actually has milk. That leaves them with one problem: how the hell are they supposed to find one? She explains they'd need to hire someone, and for that, they need money. Of course, Clevitus is broke, but since the cave they're in is full of arcanocite, they could probably turn some of it into cash. While he thinks about that option, Alicia considers making a move on him, but without a sword, she quickly drops the idea. Clevitus agrees to the plan: find a woman with milk and feed the baby. But just as he's about to head out, Alicia stops him, pointing out the obvious that if he walks into town in his current form, people will panic before he even gets a chance to explain anything. She says she'll take the baby herself and go find someone who can help. But Clevitus refuses the idea right away, not because it's wrong, but because he doesn't want the baby out of his sight. So he transforms into a human boy. The look is close enough, but the nine tails keep wagging behind him like they've got their own plans. He ends up sliding the tails into a shadowy space beneath him, something no one should ever look at. But even then, the horn on his head stays out and he doesn't notice. Before they leave, he gives himself a name Clen and names the baby Luna. Only then does he bother to ask for her name, and she tells him. They head to a nearby river where Alicia starts bathing the child. Clen keeps interrupting, nitpicking every move she makes like an annoying mother-in-law, from how she scrubs to how she dries him, and even where to focus more. Then out of nowhere, the baby pees right on her face, and she holds back a scream while trying to finish the bath. Once she's done, Clen says the poop-eating bugs did a better job. They reach her old camp, but it's empty. Alicia says they stored the valuables somewhere else and leads him there. Clen tells her to go wash up too, says she smells like she's been hiding from soap since the damn dark ages. He tosses her the cloth used to wrap the baby, asking her to clean it. While washing it, she spots a crest stitched into the fabric. It's the royal mark of Hydanian blood. She freezes, realizing the baby is no ordinary kid. Back at the ruins of the castle, a soldier searches through the wreck, shocked by the level of damage left behind. He remembers the crown princess had plans to flee with her child before all this, and now he blames the king's madness for the fall of the kingdom, holding on to a small hope that someone made it out alive. On the other side, General Drell stands with a few of his men, staring down at what's left of the Hydanian kingdom. He tells one of them to go inform the emperor fast, warning that if they don't move in and take the land, another race will. The real reason he wants Haydn is clear: it's the arcanocite secret, something only the Hydanian royals knew how to control. He heads out to gather his forces, leaving his second-in-command Maynard in charge of finding any survivors with royal blood and bringing them straight to him. Elsewhere, Alicia holds up the cloth with the Hydanian crest and confronts Clen, accusing him of stealing a baby tied to the royal family. Clen looks at her, confused and shocked, then says he was given the child by someone who looked exactly like the form he's taken. She doesn't believe a word he says, but he shuts her down and tells her he only killed the king because he was attacked first. Now he expects others will come after the child to unlock the arcanocite power. Clen, clearly pleased by what he's discovered, says he'll raise the child as king and rule everything from the shadows. The way he calls the kid his servant makes Alicia freeze, fear creeping up her back as she starts to wonder if revealing the child's identity was a mistake. Clen tells her they need to find someone with milk fast and feed the baby before it loses its strength. While they move through the forest, Alicia tells herself there's no way the humans would accept someone with a freaking horn sticking out of his forehead, even if he was disguised as one of them. Alicia keeps thinking no one would accept Clen with that horn on his head, but she forgets Orgites have the same feature, which could help him pass, though she still believes humans would figure him out and ruin his plans before they even start. She also starts seeing how deep his obsession with Lunar runs, and something about it shakes her up. If anything were to happen to the kid, she fears it might bring real disaster to humans, so she decides to make it her new duty to protect the child no matter what. While they're walking, a bunch of bandits jumps out and hits Clen straight in the head before Alicia even realizes who they are. He thinks they'll be easy to handle, but right after the first hit, he drops and starts bleeding hard. Alicia screams like a little girl and takes a hit to the back of her head that knocks her out cold. Even with Clevitus's power inside her, she's shocked at how weak she still feels. Later, she wakes up and thinks for a moment she's surrounded by her soldiers heading into battle. But before the dream settles in, Clen's voice cuts through, calling her a fool and telling her to wake up. That's when she snaps back to reality and sees they've been captured by bandits, with Clen smirking like he's not even worried. They're sitting in the bandits' carriage surrounded by a bunch of other captives. Clen's just chilling with baby Luna in his arms and wearing this calm-ass grin, which honestly freaks Alicia out even more since she's got no clue what's running through his mind. She notices Luna sleeping quietly and asks Clen how he managed to settle her down. So he explains that Luna was fussing earlier, but the second she saw those bandits' busted faces, she passed out cold. Alicia carefully moves past the other prisoners, edges closer to Clen, and whispers, asking why the hell one of the strongest demon kings who ever lived let himself get caught. She figures that when Clen changed his appearance, he probably weakened his powers too, which explains why he got knocked out in one hit. Clen nods slowly, admitting she's close, but not exactly right. Changing his form made him as physically weak as a regular human, something he didn't realize until after he got sucker punched. Basically, his built-in defense is pathetic now, but if needed, he can still power up. But that still leaves Alicia wondering why Clen hasn't busted out of this mess already. Clen explains his thinking. Since he's stuck blending in as a human for a while, he plans to keep his true strength under wraps until Luna takes her rightful place as king. Plus, he's actually curious about humans, wants to see what makes them tick, like why these poor bastards around them got captured in the first place. That's why he's just sitting back and letting things play out. Realizing Clen's totally clueless, Alicia lays it out straight for his dumb ass, telling him they got captured by bandits who probably planned to sell them all off as slaves. She quickly adds that Clen shouldn't judge humans based on these scumbags, since bandits are the absolute worst kind. Not long after, they arrive at the bandits' hideout, where the captives are immediately split into two groups, men on one side, women and kids on the other. Suddenly, one guy tries to make a run for it, and Dagon, one of the bandit bosses, just cracks a twisted grin, knowing the poor fool just signed his death warrant. Right on cue, another bandit chucks a dagger straight into the guy's back, dropping him instantly. With that idiot gone for good, Dagon turns back to the terrified crowd, warning them not to pull anything stupid, unless they want to end up dead too. He then locks eyes on Alicia, orders her to come with him, and before she can even protest, he grabs her roughly and starts dragging her off to his room, determined to find out exactly what she's hiding. Clen's still standing there looking lost when a woman named Carm, who seems to run the women and babies side of this shady-ass operations, spots him just staring into space. Noticing he's got a newborn in his arms, Carm calls her servant Naru to take care of Luna. Naru's whole job around here is nursing babies they kidnap. The bandits' hideout is in an old quarry, and at the bottom there's this deep pool. Way down at the very bottom lies some legendary red blade, but getting to it isn't easy, because something crazy powerful is guarding it down there. Turns out I misread Dagon's intentions, because he only dragged Alicia straight to Vroko, the guy currently running the Crow's bandit gang, while their real boss Zazak is away. Vroko apparently stole leadership from Zazak, and nobody dares say a damn thing because of his pet beast, Betty, who's strong enough to rip people to shreds. Alicia instantly recognizes Betty as a Western demon, shocked that a lowlife bandit like Vroko somehow managed to tame such a dangerous creature. Vroko casually talks to Betty, and she tells him she's bored and wants to play with a human male. Vroko shrugs and tells her she can choose whichever she wants from the two bandits who brought Alicia in. But before that happens, Vroko explains why Alicia's here. The bandits obviously got their hands on all those magic crystals Alicia collected from Clen's base. Vroko already figured out they came straight from Mount Moon, home to Clevitus. Based on that evidence, and the fact Alicia didn't even flinch when she saw Betty, he knows for sure she's one of the 13 heroes from Haydn who were sent to kill Clevitus. Vroko guesses Alicia was on her way back to Haydn carrying that big bag of crystals, so he casually drops the bombshell the royal capital already got wiped off the map by Clevitus. But for the Crows, that's not exactly bad news. Vroko smiles, showing off a red-colored blade, the monohydrite sword, something only Haydn royalty knows how to forge. Of course, Vroko's sword is just a worthless fake. His gang has been selling these rip-offs to idiots who can't tell real from fake for years. Now that the royal family's been permanently logged out of this world, the prices of monohydrite swords have gone through the roof. Sure, it's a solid money-making scheme, But Vroko's got his greedy eyes set on something even better. The purest hydrite swords ever made. The ones personally forged by the kings of Haydn and handed straight to the heroes. Vroko's convinced the rest of the heroes got wiped out by Clevitus, and Alicia only survived by ditching her team. He pushes Alicia to reveal where her weapon is, along with the gear from the other 12 fallen heroes. Alicia keeps her mouth shut, so Vroko commands Dagarn and Satch to take her to Clevitus's place and hunt for the treasures themselves. Dagarn throws out the idea that maybe they should bring Alicia along to grab another treasure they're already tracking, but Vroko shuts him down quick, insisting on sticking to their original plan. He even gives Dagarn and Satch permission to have some fun with Alicia before they head out, just to keep her from causing trouble on the road. At the same time, Clen's stuck waiting tables at the Bandits Inn, run by Karma. He watches quietly while bandits constantly hit on Karma, silently disgusted at how terrible these guys really are. Elsewhere, Naru's busy feeding Luna the legendary milk, but that's not her only duty. She also works as a waitress, taking endless abuse from the scumbags who fill this place. Clen quietly serves meat to the bandits with surprising patience, earning a bit of respect from some of them. But Karma picks up on something off about him. Everyone around assumes Clen's an orc because of his horns, but his skin's too pale and his eyes have the look of a cold-blooded killer. Two bandits start hassling Naru, dragging her off to put her through hell all night, leaving her bruised and battered. Naru doesn't complain though, and once they're done, she just silently returns to the inn to nurse Luna again. Shortly after, the two bastards who abused Naru suddenly get weak and dizzy, and moments later they're completely wiped from existence. Turns out Clen quietly stepped in, dealing swift justice for Naru. Naru comes back to feed Luna again, finding the baby gently resting in Clen's arms. She's got no clue what he did to those two guys and honestly doesn't care. Her only thought is feeding the baby, so she picks Luna up carefully and takes him out to a nearby shed to nurse him. Clen follows quietly behind, sitting down next to her and gently asking Naru to share a bit about herself. He wonders if she's officially part of the Crows and exactly what kind of work they're into. Naru hesitates slightly, but Clen softly encourages her to keep talking, letting her know he's just genuinely curious about her story, nothing more. She says this place is all she's ever known, and being one of the Crows is the only thing that's ever defined her. Never had a dad around, and her mom was the only one she ever had. Even then, she never saw her face, only her back. But even as a kid, she figured out her mom was a slave. She'd sneak peeks at night, saw the men coming in, doing whatever they wanted. Then, when she turned 12, her mom just vanished. No one said anything, and she never found out if her mom died or ran off. That same night, while she was eating, a group of men came up and started beating her. After that, life turned to hell. That's when it hit her mom had been shielding her all along. Once she was gone, they treated her like an animal, beat her daily, and left her to survive however she could, until Karma showed up. Sis Karma told her straight if she kept the men happy, they'd back off and leave her alone. So she tried following Karma's example, tried to figure it out. But she was nothing like Karma, didn't even know how to do what Karma did. Still, things got a little easier. At least now she had something to keep her busy. She could work, and since her body wouldn't stop making milk, she could feed the kids too. That was enough for her. Clen finds it odd, asks how she has breast milk if she never had a child. That's when she tells him she was pregnant once, but lost the baby. The baby had been moving inside her, giving her something to hold on to. Then all of a sudden, it was gone. Stillborn. The midwives told her flat out the kid was dead, and in that moment, she felt herself slipping away, like the world had turned to ice. She figured she was gonna die too, and honestly, she was okay with that. She didn't have a reason to keep going. If dying meant seeing her baby again, that sounded good enough. But then something warm pulled her back. She opened her eyes and saw a 6-month-old baby clinging to her, trying to nurse. Just seeing him fight to live, needing her like that, it snapped her out of it. She picked him up, held him, fed him, and for the first time in forever, she felt like she mattered. Her body kept working overtime like it never got the memo she was done having kids. She kept feeding that baby till he got strong. Then more kids came through the Crows brought in by that same gang, and she nursed them too. Word got out about her top-tier milk, because babies kept showing up like she was running an underground dairy. Watching them survive because of her made her feel like she finally had a purpose. She admits she tried to have her own again, twice even, but both times ended in pain. Clen eventually cuts her off, says that's enough. Then he asks if she'd come with him as Luna's wet nurse. says he's not forcing her, but there's really no reason not to. Luna clearly likes her, so it'd work out either way. Luna pats her chest like she wants Naru to stay, so Clen gives her the choice one more time: either come with him as Luna's wet nurse, or stick around and let those scumbags do whatever the hell they want with her. Naru knows it's a generous offer, but says it'd be foolish to take it, especially since she thinks he's a slave too. She tells him she wishes she could say yes, but she can't. As far as she knows, he's still chained up same as her. Plus, she's got other kids who need her milk to stay alive. So she hands him Luna and quietly walks away. At the same time, the gang drags Alicia to a raggedy old bridge and tells her to walk. She steps onto it and stops halfway, staring down. They think she's planning to jump and mock her, saying there's no way she'll survive. But she ain't trying to escape, she's looking at the river below. She sees gems glowing under the water, and she already knows what that means. Before she can say it, they beat her to it, telling her this is where the hero Cordwar died. She knows the story. One of the captives speaks up, saying he'll dive in and grab what they're after if they promise to free him and his wife. His wife pleads with them to honor that deal. But the second he jumps in, monsters rise from the depths and tear him apart. Alicia knew they were lying. That river is a damn nightmare, filled with creatures that came into the world 300 years ago when a flood opened the gates to a place called Arvensis. Back then, they at least had solid ground to fight on. Cordwar, the strongest hero of his age, tried to hold the line, but he couldn't. His sword, the Stream Splitter, is still buried somewhere in that river. The gang wants someone to bring it up, but that mission's a death wish. She snaps at them, calling them sick bastards for setting the poor guy up, and even says they didn't bother tying his rope right. They shut her up fast, telling her nobody asked for her opinion. Then they introduce Fido, the brute who's about to beat her down. He steps onto the bridge, grinning like a creep, saying he's gonna strip her down right there. Before he lays a hand on her, she slams her arm back into place, grabs Fido by the neck, and chokes him out bloody, snatches his sword, then leaps off the bridge, whispering to herself that she's putting her faith in what Clen said, that she's immortal and won't die that easily. The bandits glance down, and once they spot Alicia's lifeless body, they start freaking out. She was supposed to be the one guiding them to the 13 lost regalia weapons, and now she looks dead. At the bottom of the cave, Alicia slowly comes back to consciousness, and it's all thanks to that curse of immortality Clevitus dumped on her. The thing is, the curse keeps her alive, but it doesn't heal Jack. Right now, she's paralyzed from the neck down with no clue what the hell to do. Every bone in her body feels shattered, and she's lost more blood than she even knew she had. Climbing out of this pit on her own ain't happening. But if those bastards come down and realize she's still breathing, things will get worse. So she starts fighting to move even a little until the blood floating from her body starts swirling. And that's when Clevitus shows up. Alicia's shocked to see him looking all tiny, but he says that's because he's showing up through the blood magic inside her. That cursed blood is what's keeping her undead body running. If it all bleeds out, she's done for good. Still, he says that as long as she stays useful, he'll refill every drop she lost. And once that's done, her body should bounce back from the damage. She's relieved hearing that, but then notices something: Clevitus hasn't lifted a finger to start healing her. She asks him what the delay is. He says he will, eventually, but first he's got a question. Turns out, he found someone perfect to be Luna's wet nurse. Even as a demon, he could tell Naru's getting treated like crap here. So he offered her a chance to escape and live a better life with Luna. To his surprise, Naru flat out refused. Clen looks at Alicia, wondering if she's got any clue why someone would turn down a deal like that. Alicia thinks for a second and figures it's because Naru probably sees Clen as just another slave who can't keep a promise. People don't leave these bandit groups easily, and if they do manage to slip away, they usually end up hunted down like animals. Growing up in that kind of world, Naru must have convinced herself that freedom's nothing but a fantasy. Clen asks if there's any real way to fix all this, and Alicia figures the simplest answer is to kill every damn bandit in that freaking camp. If no one's left standing, Naru wouldn't have to worry about getting hunted down, and maybe then she'd take Clen's offer. Alicia says it shouldn't be hard for someone like him. He's got more than enough power to wipe them all out by himself. But Clen shakes his head. He says he can't afford to get caught off the mountain. If word gets out that he left, people might use it as a chance to strike Clevitus's territory while he's gone. That's why he wants Alicia to handle it instead. Heroes slaying bandits. Sounds like a normal day on the road. Alicia tries to push back, but he cuts her off and tells her to stop complaining, then hits her with a wave of blood magic that starts rebuilding her body. A few bandits finally make it down into the mine, hoping to find Alicia's corpse. What they see instead messes them up bad. Her limbs are twitching and jerking as bones snap back into place, muscles twisting like snakes under her skin. The pain is brutal, but once it's over, she's back on her feet, fully healed. They have no clue how she's even alive after that fall, but honestly, they don't care. As long as she's breathing, they can still use her to find the 13 regalia. They know she's a hero, so they stay on guard, thinking they'll be fine if they rush her all at once. But one cocky bastard decides to go in solo. He slashes her shoulder, but after everything she just went through, that pain's nothing. Alicia grabs his arm, smashes him in the face, then snatches his sword and yanks off his eye patch. She's still pissed she's even stuck in this mess, but these guys aren't worth sparing. If they can't be saved, then she'll do what she has to. Scene flips to Clen, dead set on one thing, tracking down Naru and showing her freedom's the real deal. At the same time, Naru heads back to the tavern, where Karma's been waiting. She's been worried sick, seeing Naru come back all bruised and broken again. It hurts her, but there's nothing she can do to fight back against the bandits. Naru's thankful for how much Karma cares, but work's not gonna stop itself. Karma sighs and tells her to start clearing the dirty dishes. Karma notices Naru's walking around with a weirdly bright mood for someone who just got beat to hell, so she asks if something good happened. Naru says it's not exactly good, but it kinda made her happy anyway. Then she hits Karma with a random question, what's the outside like? Karma blinks for a second, totally caught off guard. Naru never asks stuff like this. She asks why she wants to know, and Naru says she was born in this hellhole, so she's never even seen what life outside's like. But Karma was brought in, so she's gotta know a thing or two. Karma admits she does know the outside world, but it's not filled with sunshine and butterflies. Most of the women here either had their homes wiped out or never had one to begin with, so yeah, nobody's lining up to reminisce. Still, she wants to know why Naru's suddenly thinking about all this. Naru says someone asked her if she wanted to leave. Karma instantly smacks the crap out of her, says she's crazy for saying something that dangerous out loud with bandits lurking around. Those bastards don't see them as people, just tools to toss out when they stop being useful. That's why the girls stick together, protect each other, stay quiet. Saying stuff like that is the fastest way to end up dead. Right then, Vroko walks in, and of course he heard everything. Karma freezes, heart sinking, because nothing good ever comes from that guy showing up. She tries to keep cool and asks why he's even here since he rarely shows his ugly face in the tavern. He shrugs, says he heard about the new baby and wanted to check it out. Karma turns to Naru, asks her to tell him where the baby is. Last she saw, Luna was in the stables. Vroko nods, says he'll go see for himself. But before walking out, he tells Naru to come with him. The way he says it sends chills through Karma's spine. She knows damn well what that tone means. She tries to stop him, but she's got no say around here, and Naru's too naive to realize the danger she's walking into. After they're gone, Karma slams her fists against the table, furious. Naru was the only one taking care of the babies here, and now she's just gone. Vroko doesn't give a damn about any of that. Karma tries to tell herself there was nothing she could have done, that maybe Naru brought this on herself by dreaming too loud in the wrong place. But deep down, she knows that's just bullshit. Feels intense panic about what's coming next. Right then, Clen walks in holding Luna, and Karma jumps a little since she didn't hear him come in. But it clicks quick, he's probably here to feed the baby. She tells him Naru's gone, and chances are, she ain't coming back. Karma hates saying it, but that's just how life goes around here. Clen stares at her confused, not buying that answer one bit, then asks her what the hell she means. The second Karma looks into his eyes, she knows he's dead serious about finding out what happened to Naru. At the same time, Vroko's leading Naru down this dusty old stairwell, and she's low-key amazed, since she's lived her whole damn life in this camp and never even knew this place existed. Vroko explains it used to be a magic ore mine, and magic ores got all kinds of uses. Like the lamp he's carrying, it burns thanks to crushed ore mixed with bug oil. Before he turned bandit, he spent a hell of a lot of time messing with magic ore, especially testing how it mixes with different liquids to pull off wild effects. Just ignore those skulls on the floor, they're not a bad sign or anything. Probably just the last guys who took a wrong turn. Suddenly the light cuts out, and Naru freaks the hell out because she can't see a damn thing. She begs him to turn it back on, and he does. But when the place lights up again, her heart nearly stops. Vroko's freaking pet monster is standing right behind her. Turns out, one of his twisted little experiments let him take control of demons like Betty, and that's how he clawed his way to the top of this camp. But being the boss comes with rules, and letting a slave talk about escape is a big no. That's why Betty's here. He's planning to let her handle Naru. The second Naru realizes what's happening, panic hits hard. She turns and bolts, trying to find any way out. Vroko, cold as ever, tells Betty to eat her, and the damn monster comes charging. As Naru scrambles for her life, the only thing running through her head is Clen's offer. Deep down, knows if she'd said yes, none of this would be happening now. That's when she spots Clen holding Luna at the far end of the tunnel. And the last thing that flashes through her head is how bad she feels for not being able to care for Luna anymore. Normally, this would be the part where Clen swoops in and saves the day, but nope. Betty swallows Naru whole, and just like that she's gone. Luna bursts into tears, watching the nightmare play out, but Clen doesn't flinch. Says that's how this world is. Magic beasts gotta eat, and he can't blame Betty for doing what comes natural. If anything, it's his own damn fault for showing up too late. He's bummed about losing someone as useful as Naru, but it is what it is. Then he shifts his gaze to Vroko, confused as hell. No damn troll from the western woods is bowing to a fun-sized fool with teeth like garden rakes. Vroko thinks Clen's lost his damn mind, mouthing off in a moment like this. He doesn't even get how the guy showed up here in the first place, but figures it won't matter for long. Tells Betty to eat Clen and the kid too. But Betty doesn't budge. Vroko glances up to see what's wrong and nearly drops dead on the spot. Betty looks absolutely terrified. He's never seen her like this. She won't even step near Clen, shaking so bad she ends up puking Naru back up. Naru's all messed up, half melted from stomach acid, missing a damn arm and a leg. But somehow, she's still breathing. Clen calmly removes the acid, then places Luna down beside her so the two can be together for whatever time Naru's got left. Then, without Vroko noticing, one of Clen's shadows picks up both Naru and Luna and floats them away. By the time Vroko turns back, they're gone. He stands there stunned, thinking Clen must have used some kind of magic. But Clen doesn't even know what the hell magic is. Vroko figures Clen's just acting clueless, since magic's the only damn thing that explains half the crap he's pulled so far. Magic, plain and simple, comes from combining magic stones with tower ingredients to trigger wild effects. Like that nasty brew Vroko's hiding in his coat crafted using those stones, a bunch of herbs, and the squirming larva of a parasite fly. The mix turns anyone who ain't him into a drooling moron. That's how he got Betty to obey his every command without a second thought. He dumps the potion into his fire pit, creating a thick, strange vapor. The instant Betty inhales it, her eyes glaze over, and she launches at Clen, blinded by fury. Clen gets tossed across the cave like a sack of potatoes, since he can't tap into most of his strength while stuck in this flimsy human body. As he's flying, the only thing racing through his head is how pissed he is that Alicia never gave him a damn warning about any of this magic stuff. Meanwhile, Alicia's still busy hacking her way through the bandits, and she's already dropped 8 like it's nothing. But that's barely scratching the surface, and the bargain bin sword she swiped from one of them has already snapped. If she wants to clear out the rest, she's gonna need something a hell of a lot better. So she bolts straight out of the flooded cave. There's close to 50 left, and even with her undead body, stamina's still a thing. If she burns out before finishing the job, she's screwed big time. She reaches the lake, but the monsters are already circling up top waiting. Jumping in now's asking to be dinner, so she climbs to the top of the scaffolding instead, baiting the idiots to follow. Once a crowd builds up, she slices the main rope, dropping a dozen into the water all at once. The monsters snap, turning the lake into a bloodbath, while Alicia hides in a barrel. She doesn't need air, so she lets herself sink to the bottom, where the legendary blade's supposed to be buried beneath the silence. Even so, holding her breath until she hits the bottom is way harder than she thought. That pain and pressure she prepared for kicks in fast. Her senses start to fade, and her chest's on fire from the lack of air. She knows she won't die even if she runs out of breath, but it still takes everything she's got not to panic and swim back up like her body's begging her to do. After a while, she hits the lake bed and rolls out of the barrel. She sees the red glow of the magic sword not far off, so she forces her heavy body to swim toward it. If she can grab that sword, things will shift. Getting back to the surface will be a breeze, but right before her hand touches it, a massive red eye pops open. That's when she realizes she didn't reach the lake's bottom, she landed right on top of a sleeping giant monster. The beast rises, launching her backward with a surge of water. She figures this is the same creature that took down the legendary hero. But instead of freezing, she focuses back on the sword and makes a move to grab it. Before she can reach it, the monster opens its mouth and starts sucking her in. The pull's too strong. She grabs the sword at the last second, but her arm gets stuck between its jaws. Then something snaps in her. A rush of memories hits her all at once, pushing her to fight back. With a loud yell, she forces her strength out and smashes the monster's jaw wide open. She pulls herself free, locking eyes with the beast. With the sword in hand, she unlocks its magic and shoots forward through the water. The giant freak follows her, and she still can't wrap her head around how anything that huge could even exist. Must be one of the ancient ones, those ancient dark beasts that have been lurking for thousands of years. Usually, they stay hidden in remote corners of the world, but looks like the arcanocite mine humans dug nearby woke this one up. As that runs through her mind, she nears the surface. But there's a new problem. The smaller monsters above have spotted her, knows she won't last unless she gets some air. Using the sword, she cuts through the water fast, slices a monster clean through, then bursts out of the lake gasping. The bandits can't believe their eyes when they see Alicia still breathing. But she's barely got a second to catch her breath before that massive monster rises up behind her. The second it shows up, those bandits completely lose it, and then all hell breaks loose as the thing starts swinging its tentacles everywhere, tearing through everything in sight with brutal force. Alicia does her best to stay out of reach, but her attacks aren't doing much, barely scratching its skin. She figures it out real quick, no single hero's taking down an ancient one. Luckily, that beast goes wild on the bandits, tearing them apart and chomping through the mess. The leftovers end up as snacks for the smaller fish monsters. Alicia figures that's good enough. Her mission's over. Then she hears Clen's voice, even though he's nowhere in sight. Turns out they're using telepathy. Clen tells her he can't see much, but with all the blood around, he assumes she pulled it off. She snaps at him, pissed that he sat back while she nearly died out there. Clen brushes it off, says he's got problems of his own right now. She can't wrap her head around what kind of crap a demon lord could be dealing with. Clen explains he's stuck facing a technique he's never seen before, and his human body's weaker than expected. He blames her for hiding the whole magic thing from him, says once she's back, she's getting punished properly. Still, he already crushed that brainwashed troll, and is now farming aura while he waits. Somewhere else, Vroko's running like hell, convinced Clen must be some kind of genius mage after one-shotting his pet troll. He ends up stumbling on Naru's corpse, with little Luna crying beside her. One look at that girl gives him a twisted idea. Maybe there's still a way out of this mess. Back with Alicia, she rushes toward Clen after getting his call, and the first thing she notices is the weird smoke hanging in the air. Clen spots the sword she's wrapped up in cloth, and she immediately makes it clear she's not parting with it. Says she nearly got eaten trying to get that damn thing. Clen's not even that interested in the sword, but what's got him on edge is the crimson smoke. He says it doesn't seem to mess with regular humans or animals, but for him, it's screwing with everything. His sense of smell's shot, ears ringing, and the whole area feels off. He says he could blow it all away by shifting into his true form, but with Luna somewhere out there, he's not taking that risk. Alicia freaks out the moment she hears Luna ain't with Clen, but he tells her not to lose it, she shouldn't be far. Then he asks her straight up about magic, and she explains only certain folks can use it by tapping into the hidden power inside arcanocite. She admits she can't use it herself, even though she knows the basics. Clen looks at her and calls her useless. That pisses her off, and she starts throwing curses his way, but he ignores her and decides to look for Luna and Naru. He figures there's a good chance they're already dead. That thought sends a cold jolt through Alicia's spine, and she asks him what he'll do if Luna's actually gone. He tells her flat out he'd lose all interest in humans. Alicia knows that it'd be a freaking disaster. She makes up her mind to find Luna before it's too late for humanity's damn sake. Soon she finds a blood trail and asks Clen if Naru was bleeding. He confirms it, and Alicia guesses either Naru's crawling or someone's dragging her. Either way, she can't have gotten far, so they need to move now. Turns out Naru's still hanging on, clutching Vroko with everything she's got to keep Luna safe, even while bleeding out. He yells at her, kicks her, tells her to let go, but she won't quit. He wants her dead so he can run with Luna. Earlier, when he tried to take him, Luna screamed so loud it shattered Vroko's magic lantern. That's when he realized the kid's got some serious magical talent. and being a pure-blooded Haydn, there's a good chance he's royal. Vroko decides to cut Naru's wrist to get her off him, but that's when Alicia shows up, yelling at him to stop. Vroko jumps back, shocked to see her alive. He demands to know what happened to his guys, and Clen answers with zero emotion they turned into dinner for the beasts. That shakes Vroko hard, but he still pulls it together enough to threaten them. Says if they come any closer, he'll slice off Luna's fingers. Clen dares him to go ahead, he can heal it all anyway. But Alicia shuts that down, tells him healing don't fix what a kid feels. Then she tells Clen to let her handle this, and turns to Vroko, showing him the magic weapon from the legendary hero. Vroko's eyes damn near pop out. Before he can react, Alicia tosses the sword straight into the wall behind him, tells him to go fetch it. Says he'll need both hands to pull it out, but if he leaves the kid, she'll let him walk away with it. Vroko laughs, says no true hero would ever give up a magic weapon for a freaking baby. But now he's convinced Luna's got royal blood, and that changes everything. He tells Alicia she better cough up the location of the 13 weapons she and her crew are hiding if she wants the baby back. Clen, without hesitation, tells her to spill it, says they're just weapons. Alicia tells him the weapons are buried at the bottom of the valley under the Luna Mountains, but if he wants them, he better go get them himself. Vroko laughs, cocky as hell, says he's more than capable, knows plenty of magic. Then he releases some black powder into the air and taps Luna lightly, making the kid cry, which activates his powers on instinct. Luna's magic boosts the powder, triggering Vroko's invisibility spell and making him vanish completely. He starts walking off, thinking he's untouchable, but Alicia suddenly appears in front of him and slices him clean in half. He's stunned, can't figure out how she found him. She tells him it didn't matter how quiet or invisible he got, she followed the sound of Luna crying. Meanwhile, Clen picks up Luna and brushes off the black powder. Alicia leaves Vroko's body invisible, then looks at Luna and realizes he's only alive because Naru protected him so fiercely. She turns to Clen and asks if he can save her. He says he can't, he's limited to one zombie puppet at a time, and Naru's lost too much. There's not enough left to regenerate, not without getting pieces from somewhere else. Adds it'd just be easier to let her die. That sets Alicia off. Yells at him for thinking about letting the woman who saved his kid die like that. Says if she were a mom, she'd trust someone like Naru with her child without a second thought. Clen stares at her, then finally agrees to save Naru, but says he'll need all the mana he poured into Alicia's body. That means she's gotta die. Alicia doesn't even flinch. Says she's fine dying if it's for someone else. Says that's what being a hero means. Clen nods once and ends her life immediately. Not long after, Naru opens her eyes, shocked she's still breathing. But even more surprising, her body's been completely rebuilt. Clen didn't just save her, he restructured everything. She looks at him and asks if he brought her back, and he tells her yes, but it's the hero she should be thanking. Says it took a while to fix her up, and by the time he was done, Alicia's body had already started rotting. But now that he returned the mana, she should be waking up soon. A few seconds later, Alicia jolts up like she's starting a breakdance set, and the first thing she does is look for her sword. Clen hands Luna over to Naru and says her new name's Naru now. Says she's part of their crew from here on out. But this time Naru happily agrees. The next morning, Clen takes Alicia's sword away, and she's clearly upset. But he calmly explains that having it out in the open will only attract trouble. He tells her he's keeping it hidden in his shadow for now, ready to bring it back if needed. Meanwhile, Naru finishes packing up a bunch of gear taken from the bandits and even finds a decent outfit for Luna to wear. Alicia watches her moving all that luggage and asks if it's not too heavy. Surprised she's handling it on her own, but Naru says it actually feels pretty light. That's when Alicia remembers that Naru lost a large portion of her body the day before, nearly dying in the process. Clen must have replaced those damaged parts with something stronger, though Alicia still has no clue what he did to save her. Then Naru steps closer and offers to carry Alicia's sword for her, saying she just wants to help. Alicia awkwardly explains she doesn't have the sword anymore, and Naru pauses to think, recalls hearing something about Vroko stashing away some fancy swords in his desk. Hearing that, Alicia lights up and begs Clen to let her grab a replacement, even just a regular blade. Clen knows full well she's pretty much useless in a fight without a weapon, so he agrees. Alicia immediately rushes off toward Vroko's office, excited to see what she can find. With the bandits wiped out and the slaves long gone, the place is mostly deserted now. Clen casually asks Naru if she's going to miss this place, but she quickly replies that it only holds bad memories and she's glad they're finally leaving. What really bothers her though is not getting to say goodbye to Karma. Hearing that name again, Clen realizes he might have made a mistake earlier, but before he can say anything, he's suddenly hit from above and sent flying. Back in the office, Alicia finds a small stash of coins, a leather armor set, and one decent sword tucked in the drawer. She's satisfied and starts heading out when suddenly, Clen crashes straight through the wall, slamming into the desk right in front of her. Clen then mutters that he still hasn't gotten used to how damn fragile this human body is, always getting tossed around like a ragdoll. Before he can say a word, Gart bursts through the hole in the wall and Alicia instantly senses how strong he is, so she raises her sword without hesitation. But in the next moment, Gart throws a savage kick that slices the air and leaves a small cut across her face from pressure alone. He's impressed she managed to dodge in time, but he doesn't think she'll last long, and starts pummeling her with kick after kick until she stumbles. Then he jumps back and sends out a violent gust of wind that blasts her straight through the roof, crashes outside hard, but somehow still stands, and that earns her some respect from Gart, who tells her he's not here for her anyway, just wants tiny-ass Clen, so if she drops the sword and walks away, he'll let her go without another scratch. Alicia doesn't believe a single word coming out of his mouth, thinks he's just another bandit trying to survive. She wishes she had the stream splitter in her hands right now, but since that's not an option, she decides to use one of the techniques she picked up from Haydn. She clears her head and tunes everything out until the only thing she can focus on is taking this guy down. Suddenly her steps become sharper, her rhythm tighter, and the sudden shift in her movement catches Gart by surprise. Just as she's about to land a solid strike, Clen suddenly shouts at her to stop. Her body freezes before the blade hits, but the fury in her eyes hasn't cooled off, so Clen rushes in and snaps her out of it before she does something reckless. Once she's calm again, Clen explains this whole thing is one big misunderstanding, and there's no reason for them to be fighting at all. If he hadn't stepped in, she would have gotten her shit kicked in by Gart before her sword even touched him. Gart, being reasonable enough, asks what the hell Clen means by that, because from where he's standing, Naru smells exactly like a Western troll. He was told there was a troll being controlled in this camp, and after checking the caverns under the base, he found a dead one with body parts missing like someone had been slicing pieces off on purpose. So from his angle, it looks like Clen's the leader who killed that troll for fun. But the truth is way more complicated than that. Then Clen tells Naru to take Luna and wait by the front gate since he needs to talk to Gart alone. Once they're out of sight, he leans in and tells Alicia something wild. Gart's not who he says he is. Actually, he's a dark beast hiding behind some serious illusion magic. Alicia's jaw practically hits the floor. Had no clue there were others out there like Clevitus who could pass for human so naturally. But Clen explains it's all just a trick. From what he knows, there's only one creature strong enough to pull off illusion magic that advanced, and that's the dark beast of the west named Zafthir. Clen doesn't get along with Zafthir though, and he's not exactly eager to run into him. Meanwhile, Gart is stunned that Clen figured all this out so quickly, so he presses him asking who he really is. Clen's not about to spill the truth, so he lies, claiming he serves under Lord Clevitus, another dark beast. Gart buys it, drops the illusion, and reveals his real form, a giant bird monster loyal to Zafthir. Now that he's shown his true face, he asks Clen to do the same. Clen responds by unleashing one of his shadow tails, enough to prove he's not bluffing. That's all Gart needs to call a truce. But Alicia's head is spinning, there's way too much to process. If there are more dark beasts out there walking and talking like humans, then what the hell were the heroes even fighting for back when they went after Clevitus? Clen catches that look on her face and tells her to chill out. There aren't that many beasts who can pull off a full human disguise. Outside of Zafthir, nobody else even bothers, since most of them don't care enough to get mixed up with humans. From there, Gart wants to know why Clen's got a human tagging along, but Clen plays it off, saying Alicia's his servant now, bound to follow whatever he tells her, using her as a guide while he figures out the human world. Same thing goes for Naru and Luna, they're part of the plan, but he's not about to hand over any more details. Gart shrugs it off, but lays down one warning. If Clen steps in his way, he'll have no choice but to kill him. Clen just smirks and says he's welcome to try, but taking him down won't be easy. Now that Clen answered one of Gart's questions, he says it's only fair he gets to ask one too. Before that, Gart mentioned Zafthir might be planning to wipe out all of humanity, and that just doesn't sit right with him. From what he remembers, Zafthir always seemed fascinated by humans. The Orgites in the West even worship her like some god, so why the hell would she suddenly decide to erase them all? Guard agrees to explain. 3 days back, he found out that some dark beasts in the West had lost their kids. That alone didn't seem too unusual, but what got him thinking was a strange vial someone left behind at one of the scenes. It made him suspect humans might be involved. He took it straight to Zafthir, told her what happened, along with 9 other similar cases he'd uncovered. She believed him, though it caught her off guard since she'd always treated humans with kindness. Still, she didn't waste time, told him to look into it. And if humans really were behind the kidnappings in the forest, then she'd wipe them out without a second thought. Clen pauses, thinking back to something he heard during the interrogation with Karma. She told him that every child born in their camp gets sold off to some mysterious group of men because of their talent. That's what Vroko had planned for Luna too. Putting the pieces together, Clen suspects there's a link between the missing Dark Beast children and those human kids being sold. Since talent was part of the deal, he figures magic must be playing a role here. Then Alicia hears that, and her whole vibe changes. Clen picks up on it and asks if she knows anything. She says magic isn't exactly her specialty, but the idea of kidnapping children for magical talent sounds like something the wizards would be behind. These wizards changed the entire landscape of war in the human kingdoms over the last few years. Battles now depend almost completely on how strong each side's wizards are, since one of them can take out dozens, sometimes hundreds with a single spell. Sure, they can still be killed by other wizards, so it's not like they're untouchable, but they're still a serious threat on the battlefield. The first person who brought wizards into war was General Drell, better known as the Dragon Slayer. He's also the one who killed Alicia's father when she was a kid. She's carried that grudge ever since. Hearing all this hits Clen different, and he ends up asking why she went after Clevitus instead of the one who actually took her father's life, since Clevitus never actually did anything to the humans before they attacked. But Alicia says it wasn't about what she wanted. Her father's last wish was for her to move forward through Clevitus's territory. So that's what she did, no matter how she felt inside. At the same time, somewhere deep in the human kingdom, General Drell's army is making its move toward the south with 50,000 men behind him. His goal is to capture the ruins of Haydn and claim them for himself. What's left of the Haydn army is scrambling to stop him, but they've only got around 6,000 soldiers and barely any wizards, so they're in no position to hold their ground. Miquel wonders if reinforcements are on the way, but with how things are looking, it'll take at least 3 days before anyone shows up, which means they're on their own for now. Even so, Commander Rhodey is not ready to give up. Tells Miquel they might have a shot if they can make it to the fortress at Highgate and shut the gates behind them. That way, even with the odds stacked, they could still stand their ground against Drell's forces. The problem is, that plan depends on the soldiers already stationed there playing along. Rhodey had sent them a letter explaining the whole situation, but since he hasn't gotten any kind of reply, he figures things must be just as messy inside that fortress. Neither Rhodey nor Miquel knows for sure whether the rumors about Clevitus wiping out Haydn are true, but if Bolate sent Drell out to take it, then odds are the kingdom has already fallen. If he had to bet, Rhodey thinks Drell's after the Forge of Haydn, since it's impossible to craft real magic weapons without it. Miquel agrees that letting the Bolates get their hands on it would be a nightmare, but says there's more at stake than just weapons. That forge isn't just ancient, it's one of the oldest magical relics in existence. If the magic-hungry Bolates manage to unlock its secrets, no one knows how far their power might go. With something like that, they could take the whole continent for themselves. And that's exactly why Rhodey says they've got to be stopped no matter the cost. Back on Drell's side, he's having a private talk with his strongest wizard, Maynard. Maynard reports that he confirmed Haydn's been destroyed by Clevitus and the royal family's been wiped out. Everyone except one, the 6-month-old crown prince. He's the last of the bloodline, but no one knows where he is now, so Maynard can't say if he's alive or gone. That said, he also heard from a group of bandits recently. They found a baby, and the description sounds a lot like the prince, so Maynard figures it's worth digging into, and Drell gives him full authority to do whatever it takes to find that child and bring him back. At the same time, Clen and the crew reach a small town, so Naru brews him a cup of coffee while they wait for Alicia to pull in some info. Clen has never even heard of coffee, so he asks what it is, but Naru isn't sure either. It's just a pricey drink, one Vroko sometimes had her make. so she grabbed a pouch of beans on the way out thinking Clen might enjoy it, and he decides to give the strange bean drink a fair shot, waits for it to cool, then takes a sip and is surprised by how good it tastes. Naru is relieved he enjoys it, yet there is something on her mind she wants to clear up, and brings up that strange man who attacked Clen back at the camp, says he vanished and that felt wrong. Clen breaks down the whole wizards and magic thing to Alicia, and once Gart hears it, he says he's heading out to report back to his master, so they will not be seeing him for a while. Clen adds that even if they cross paths again, he will not strike at them, since he no longer thinks they are suspicious. Right after, Alicia runs up the hill with bad news gathered from the villagers, says the situation in Hyden is a total mess. Bolate broke past the border and pushed an invasion deep inside, so Hyden is fighting back. But with the king dead and the capital ruined, there is no chance they can win, the streets filling with fear. Even the country of Eslan tried to slow Bolate's advance, yet it barely changed anything in the end. Clen wants to know why Eslan would step in for Hyden when they are not party to this conflict, so Alicia lays it out. Eslan has been at war with Bolate for ages, yet right now they stand weaker, so they do not want Bolate getting the Hyden forge, since that would make them unstoppable, and even if Bolate seized the forge, they could not run it properly without someone of royal blood. But the biggest issue is that Hyden is outmatched, since Clen killed their king and they have no sorcerers to bring into battle. So at this rate Hyden will be erased from the map before long. That sounds bad, but Clen still does not see a reason to care, since his only goal is to make Luna king. So whether Bolate takes Hyden or not, it changes nothing for him. But Alicia tells Clen it does matter, because if Hyden turns into Bolate territory, Luna will never become king. Under Bolate rule, only citizens born in Bolate can sit on the throne, and from Luna's features it is obvious he is a pure-blood Hydenite, so he would end up an outcast under Bolate rule. On top of that, pure-blood Hydenites are rare and highly sought after, since their blood is the key to refining Arcanesite properly, and with a man like Drell leading the push, there is no telling how far he will go. Drell is the one who killed Alicia's father, and it was not because of a war. They had been friends once, and years after the man retired as one of the country's greatest swordsmen, Drell showed up and forced a duel to the death, just to prove he was the better swordsman. Then after mortally wounding him, Drell looked Alicia in the eye, and for no reason blew their house up too. Alicia was furious, ready to grab her father's sword and charge, but her father stopped her. He knew Drell would cut her down the second she touched that blade. So in his final moments, he begged Alicia not to let revenge blind her, said that path leads to a war she would never return from, and asked her to become a hero who saves people, promising he would always be watching over her. Having felt Drell's cruelty firsthand, Alicia tells Clen the only way to secure Luna's future is to stop Bolate and drive them out of Hyden. Clen understands Alicia is right, but he is still annoyed he has to protect a place he once decided to destroy. Alicia is relieved he will help and says she will get ready to leave at once, but Clen tells her to stay. If he is going to step in directly, he cannot let anyone think he is doing it just because Alicia asked, so he needs a reason to confront Drell. And the fact that Drell has been kidnapping Dark Beast children to build his wizard army is reason enough. It also gives Clen a chance to see how strong these wizards really are, and that thought gets him a little excited. With that in mind, he is sure Alicia wants payback for what Drell did to her father. But her father's last wish was clear: he wanted her to be a hero, not someone ruled by revenge. Alicia's still carrying that promise she made, but after all that's gone down, she can't bring herself to call what's left of her a hero, feeling more like an empty shell stuck serving him. Clen doesn't fight her on it, just asks what being a hero really means to her. She might not believe she's one, but he's dead sure Naru does, since the girl's whole life got better because of what Alicia's done. That hits home, so she agrees to stay put. Then Clen shifts into his other form and tears off through the forest straight toward the Bolate army. Now the Bolate army has already broken through the second fortress on the road to Hyden, so Rhodey starts to worry hard. If nobody stops them soon, they'll hit Hydrat before long. He races along the cliff with Mikkel and says there's a shallow river ahead, so if they're going to stop that push, or at least slow it, this is their best shot right now. Meanwhile, Alicia guides Naru and Luna into the city, and as they walk down the street they hear the hard thuds and ragged yelps of someone getting the shit beaten out of them. Alicia stiffens at first, then realizes it's one of the bandits who somehow lived through her attacks, so she's not interested in stepping in. People here know exactly what those bandits did, so once they recognize who he is, there's no chance they let him walk away now. Naru still trembles a little since that creep used to torment her all the time, but Alicia tells her there's no way he'd recognize her after how much she's changed. At that point, the bandit does recognize Alicia, so the second he spots her, he tries to flip the crowd by yelling that she's the hero who released the giant sea beast in the mine shaft. People turn to see who he's talking about, yet by then Alicia has already slipped away, and even if they had seen her, it wouldn't change the fact he's a bandit who got caught. In the end, the townspeople hang every bandit they find inside the walls, but they're rattled by everything swirling lately. First came Clevitus's attack, then the Bolade army, and now an ancient octopus monster, leaving them worried the next nightmare could be radioactive wasps or glacial worms. But still, no matter what shows up next, they swear they'll protect their town from any threat. At the same time, Alicia and Naru search for a place to stay, but the whole town is on high alert, so every step feels watched and every doorway tense. Without wasting time, they keep moving. Before they head into the inn, Alicia asks Naru not to refer to her as a hero, since she wants to keep her identity tucked away for a while. As soon as Alicia pushes the front door open, two big men posted on either side jump in and accuse her of being one of the bandits. Alicia freezes for a moment, unsure how to handle it without turning the hall into a scene. When the men's mother steps in and tells them to stop bothering the guests, Phil tries to justify it, says Alicia looks suspicious because she wears an eye patch and carries a sword. Yet with everything that has been going on lately, walking around armed is reasonable. But it is not common to see someone traveling with a Hydnian baby, so Kari asks Alicia for an explanation. Alicia tells her that she and Naru serve as guards for a very important person, and right now their job is to protect this baby at all costs. That sounds convincing enough to Kari, and while she is sure there is more to the story, she does not intend to pry into a paying customer's business. She asks what they need, so Alicia says she would like a room for two, preferably with a bed comfortable enough for a baby. Kari tells her the rate is 2 silver coins a night, so Alicia pays for 2 nights on the spot, and Kari assigns them the first room on the left. At that point, the path is clear. Then she orders her sons to help carry the luggage upstairs. Pete steps behind Naru and offers to take the bags. Naru says she is fine handling them herself, but Pete insists, so she passes the load over, and he immediately regrets the offer because the bags are far heavier than he expected. Pete and Phil finally haul everything up to the room, and Alicia seems satisfied with it. So Kari heads back down and says Alicia can find her downstairs if she needs anything. Once Kari is gone, Naru suggests getting Luna into bed so he can rest. Neither of them realizes that one of Maynard's insects has spotted Luna, and now that it knows exactly where the Hyde Knight Prince is, Maynard sends his entire insect army after him before long. A little while later, Alicia looks out the window and wonders whether Clen has made it to the battlefield yet. But then Naru calls her over and points out Luna's first baby tooth. Minutes later, Kari knocks on the door to tell Alicia and Naru their food is ready. Then she notices Luna still asleep, so she tells Alicia to come fetch it and take it back up to the room. Alicia follows her downstairs, and Kari points at the platters set at the end of the table, so Alicia heads over to grab them without wasting time. On the way, she catches the bar crowd murmuring that this whole mess is on the heroes, their voices low and heated. If they had not gone out and challenged one of the Beast Lords, then Clevitus would not have leveled Haydn, and the Bolates would not have started this war in the first place. Public opinion of heroes is rock bottom now, and folks feel they have every right to be angry, since the so-called heroes only made life harder in the end, and that sentiment spreads from table to table. Alicia turns to go back upstairs, then a dark beast presence brushes past her senses, and right after that something smashes through the downstairs window with a thud that shakes the room. It lands by Pete, and he assumes it is a harmless ball, so he reaches down to pick it up. But Alicia shouts that he should not touch it, but it's too late. The look on Pete's face freezes for a split second before the object swells in an instant, slamming him into the ceiling and revealing a giant centipede. Maynard then steps into the inn at that point and explains this is no ordinary insect. It came out of the dark beast forest, so it stands on par with some of the tougher dark beasts out there. One man does not even wait for Maynard to finish, since he came here to relax, not wrestle a centipede monster, so he jumps through the window to run. Normally that would be an excellent survival plan, but Maynard already stationed several hundred bug monsters outside, and the man gets eaten anyway. Maynard set the field so that nobody leaves town until he is done with his mission, and he wants no confusion about that. And to make sure everyone understands, he introduces himself as the highest mage serving General Drell's army. The room tightens with worry because nobody expected Drell's army to strike their village in this way, but Maynard says he is not here to seize the place. His mission is simple, to confirm whether the hideout baby here carries royal blood or not, and that purpose alone brought him. Alicia feels the floor drop inside her, and if Maynard already knows about Luna, she needs to get him far away fast without delay. But before she can act, a sharp panicked scream cuts down from the room above Naru's voice. That's when it clicks. Maynard has already sent a subordinate up there. Meanwhile, in the room right now, a telekinesis wizard named Naya Chiffinlitz has Naru pinned against the wall with the bed frame, not letting up for a second. Naru cannot figure how Naya slipped in through a second-floor window, so Naya spells it out. She flew up with her axe because her power pulls and pushes anything made of iron, so she gripped the handle and hurled it upward. Then the force yanked her along for the ride. She does not really get the science behind it. Yet there is a massive dark beast turtle with an iron shell, and any metal weapon swung at it ends up stuck there for good. Now that she has laid out how the ability works, she says she has to get back on task. So she pulls a pill from her bag and walks over to Luna. Naru asks what she is doing, so Naya says she is giving Luna medicine that evaluates his magic potential. And if the baby can use magic, his eyes change color and he stays fine, otherwise he coughs blood and dies. A rough 50-50. Because that means Luna could die. Naru yells and pleads for her to stop, and then Alicia hears the screams and sprints for the room. But before she reaches the door, Maynard orders his centipede, and it slams her into the wall. He is not sure who Alicia is, yet he will not let her wreck the plan, so he decides she has to die. At the same time inside the room, Naru keeps fighting to free herself so she can reach Luna. But Naya says it is pointless, because the force she can drive through those bed frames is enough to stop the Hulk in his tracks. So with 2 frames in play, Naru would need more strength than 2 pregnant bulls to break out. And there's no way her tiny arms could pull that off. Then, to Naya's shock, those small arms actually start prying the frames apart. And with one clean shove, Naru knocks Naya out cold. Maynard hears a heavy crash from inside and wonders what went down. Then he tries sending the centipede to check, but something is pinning it. Now Alicia, who survived the hit, has its antenna tied in a knot, so the beast is completely disoriented and cannot move right. So she boots it to the floor and runs for the room to check on Naru and Luna. And Maynard is impressed because no ordinary person handles a magic beast like that, and now that he gets a proper look, he realizes who Alicia is. Alicia steps into the bedroom ready to fight, but instead she finds Naya unconscious on the floor while Naru stands beside her holding Luna. She notices the big hole in the wall, so she asks if Naya did it, and Naru says she was the one who caused it because when she pushed the bed frame to get free, it hit Naya and went straight through the wall. Alicia does not understand how that is even possible. However, there is no time to debate because they need to get out now, so she grabs her sword and tells Naru to stick close, and they jump out the window. And once they leap, Alicia uses her sword skills to slice the bugs in the air so they can run. By the time Naya wakes up, it is already too late to stop them, and she would like to go after those too. But the bugs in the air do not discriminate, so she would die the moment she steps outside without Maynard's help. Meanwhile, a little later, Alicia and Naru make it outside the city limits, so the bugs stop chasing because Maynard only ordered them to surround the city. If they are lucky, they might make it through the forest before dawn. But things are never that simple, and they run into a second wall of insects in the forest. There are many more here, so Alicia will not be able to cut her way through them like before. Naru asks what they are supposed to do, and Alicia is not exactly sure, so for now they need to find somewhere to hide. Back at the inn, Naya goes downstairs and tells Maynard that the women got away, and Maynard asks if she at least managed to test the baby's magic aptitude, since that was the point. She says she never got the chance because Naru knocked her out with the bed frame. Maynard realizes they seriously underestimated those two, but even so, this situation allows him to confirm a few details. First, the blonde woman was the hero Alicia Glenfall, and Maynard is certain because he was there when Drell killed her father. There is no way a hero would be traveling with an ordinary baby, so that pretty much confirms that Luna is the hideout prince they have been looking for. He is practically shaking with anticipation of how fun it will be to torture a hero when he gets his hands on her. and Nea just stares at him, wondering why she has to spend time with this lunatic. Maynard finishes his wild laughter. Then he tells Nea to round up every last resident and march them out to the main square. Once the crowd is outside, the town leader steps forward and demands to know why they were dragged out here. And he adds that if Maynard thinks a handful of bugs will make them submit, he has another thing coming. Maynard is struck by how bold these people are, so he lays out the story from his side. Says he and the Bolade army would not even be here if the king of Hyden had not made that damn fool gamble and attacked Clevitus. Now that the capital lies in ruin, Clevitus might come back to seize the land, so the Bolade force is kindly stepping in to protect everyone. It is a paper-thin pretext to invade Hyden, but without the king and his magic weapon, there is practically nothing left to stop it on the ground. Besides, Maynard says they have a bigger enemy in the meantime, because the blonde woman from earlier is one of the 13 heroes who started this whole mess. So if the townsfolk need a target for their rage, they can start by hunting her down. Meanwhile, Drell's army keeps pushing toward the fallen capital of Hyden, and they are halfway across a shallow river when Drell suddenly stops because he feels eyes on him. So he orders the stalker to step out at once, because there is no point in hiding when the moon is pouring light over the water. Suddenly, Rhodey bursts from the brush and slams his spear into the river, and the surface turns to glass in a snap, pinning the feet of every soldier in Drell's ranks. He barks for his men to advance, even though Drell's force outnumbers Rhodey's 10-1. Rhodey's troops came ready with ice cleats, so they move cleanly over the frozen sheet, while even Drell's enslaved dark beasts can barely stagger. Miquel leads the charge and tells everyone to focus the wizards first, so they cannot free themselves. Drell knows the frost spear's limits, and even at full output it should not be able to freeze an entire river at once, so he reasons that Rhodey must have stationed a wizard upstream to chill the flow just below freezing, then let the frost spear do the rest. He admits the setup is sharp. Rhodey truly looks like he has mastered the frost spear, and if he defeats Drell here he can end the whole war. However, Drell tells him it will not be that easy. Rhodey surges forward with his spear, but Drell meets him with a heavy backhand slash, so the blow knocks Rhodey several feet back. Even so, Rhodey steadies up and snaps an ice spell through the spear. However, Drell reacts in time and darts off his line, so the path he abandoned freezes solid behind him. Then they close again and trade strikes, and Drell is once more impressed by how much force Rhodey can pull from a regalia, because the weapon grants power. Yet it still takes real strength to draw out its full potential like this. However, he does not believe that is enough to break the world's shackles. So he pours in more power, lifts his blade, and a dragon's claw forms in midair at his call. Rhodey is stunned because regalia are not meant to manifest physical things, but the claw is real, and it sends him flying across the river. Meanwhile, Miquel and the rest see their commander in trouble, so the line turns back to support him. At the same time, Drell explains that by fusing his sword with magic, he has made something far beyond a normal blade. Just then, Drell spots a group of Rhodey's men rushing his way, so he wheels around and obliterates them with the dragon claw, and the sweep takes his own soldiers as well. Rhodey cannot believe he would kill his own troops so casually. What the hell? But Drell says anyone too weak to survive a strike like that does not deserve to see the world beyond their borders. Rhodey still does not follow the talk about borders and shackles, so Drell lays it out. His goal is to shatter the legend of the heroes, because that legend pushes people to challenge unbeatable foes with methods that keep victory out of reach. Things have run the same way for thousands of years, and no one questioned the pattern, so the tradition stayed. That ends here. Drell tells Rhodey he will not kill him because he was a worthy opponent, and by now Rhodey should know there is no way he can win. Rhodey tries to stand, but his body has nothing left, so he lies there and watches as Drell continues the conquest. But a moment later, Clevitus slams into the battlefield, a dark aura roaring around him as the ground shudders. Faces freeze when they realize the southern lord of the dark beasts is here. Clevitus can tell that Drell is the one running this field, so he says he has a single thing to ask, and he does not waste time on pleasantries. Someone has been snatching both human children and dark beast children, and from what he has heard it ties to the magic Drell uses, based on whispers from across the region. So he wants to know if Drell is truly the one behind it. Drell notes that a beast lord coming all this way just to ask a question must have better things to do, yet Clevitus answers without blinking that this is part of his duty as a lord, because if anyone defiles his land or his people, the law of the land says he must kill that offender with his own claws in retribution. Drell asks what gives Clevitus the right to define that law. However, Clevitus is already tired of the talk, so he drives a hand through Drell's stomach with a straight thrust. He says this could have been avoided if Drell had simply answered the damn question. Yet even with a hole in his chest, Drell stays calm. Says he already knew Clevitus would come to kill him, and he knew a head-on fight was not winnable, so he made preparations in advance and kept them quiet. A third eye opens on Drell's forehead as he primes his ultimate art. Dark Ichor prison resolve hardening as he commits. That catches Clevitus off guard because he did not think humans could handle Dark Ichor at all. And in the next breath, Drell's body detonates and coats Clevitus in his blood. When the blast clears, the only things left are Drell's sword and a giant sphere of what used to be Drell surrounding Clevitus. Even so, Drell is not dead, not by any normal measure, because before the explosion he shifted his mind into the sword. He no longer has a human body and now exists as the magic of that blade. He went to extreme lengths to sacrifice flesh for this Dark Ichor prison, and he is certain that even someone as strong as Clevitus will not break out easily. Clevitus appears to be knocked senseless by the prison, so he stays motionless inside for now, and Drell intends to leave him there until he dies of hunger or age. Meanwhile, Rhodey watches in horror and disbelief, jaw tight and stomach sinking, because he cannot believe Drell just locked down Clevitus in moments when the 13 heroes failed to do it. If Drell can pull off something like this, Haydn has no chance against that might. So Drell hardens his resolve to continue the mission and orders all remaining troops to prepare to move at once. Meanwhile, out in the forest, Alicia and Naru are still trying to escape Maynard, when Alicia suddenly feels that something is wrong, a pull at the edge of her senses. However, she does not know what caused that pulse, and there is no channel to reach Clevitus from here, so she tells Naru they have to keep going. All the while, a band of angry townspeople keeps tracking them through the trees step by step on Maynard's orders. A short while later, the townsfolk hem Alicia and Naru inside an old cabin. Phil heads the angry crowd, brandishing torches as they shout for Alicia to step out, saying they know she's in there, so hiding is useless. Meanwhile, Alicia and Naru keep out of sight, unsure what move to make. Phil keeps hollering, pinning every disaster that hit their town on her. Speaking for the lot, he says they've always despised the so-called heroes, since heroes never do real work. They only slay a dark beast now and then, and folks treat it like it's something grand. Naru tries to lift Alicia, reminding her she's special because she saved both her and Luna. But Alicia tells her to back away from the window, saying the priority right now is keeping her and Luna safe. Alicia admits she figured this could happen, especially since they couldn't get out of town. What she didn't anticipate was the townsfolk finding them this fast. She thinks about bolting since Maynard still hasn't caught up to them yet, but she knows it won't help because there's nowhere left to hide. Phil loses patience and lifts his torch, ready to hurl it at the cabin. But right before he does, his brother grabs him, because their mom and dad just arrived, and they look furious. Mark, their father, tears into them, reminding them their forefathers built this water wheel over 200 years ago, and he won't let them torch it. Phil fires back, but Mark cuffs him on the head and tells him to shut it, saying he shouldn't swallow whatever two outsiders told him. Mark admits he doesn't trust Maynard or Naya, so he put 2 strong men on them to make sure they don't cause trouble. He shoulders past Phil and tells him to step aside, letting him handle it. Then he walks to the front of the cabin and calls to Alicia, saying he only wants to ask her something. He promises no one inside will be harmed until they're done talking. He wants to speak with her alone, so he asks her to come out. Alicia sees she has no choice, tells Naru to stay in and watch Luna, then steps outside. Mark's eyes go straight to her empty hip. The regalia sword is missing. He figures she must have pawned it for quick coin, but Alicia explains she lost it in her clash with Clevitus. Hearing that, Mark pokes at her pride, pointing out she fought Clevitus and came up short. Alicia lets out a breath and owns it, saying Clevitus wiped them out completely. She adds that she'd understand if everyone hated her for failing this hard, and as she starts to apologize, Mark cuts in, says that isn't the issue. If she had sold her regalia and run, he would have killed her without hesitation, since she stood her ground and lost. He has no complaint. Phil and the others are stunned by their father's call. Alicia, for her part, is left speechless when it hits her that they don't hate her after all. Mark then explains that before the king died, he sent her away as part of tradition. With a steady look, he asks whether keeping that tradition makes sense anymore, considering the heavy price everyone has paid. When the next king is chosen, the question on the table is whether the citizens should back him or not. Mark reminds Alicia that her hero party is the only one in 1,000 years to reach the Lord of Dark Beasts. He believes she must have seen what lies beyond Luna Mountain, so he presses again on whether it was worth it. At this moment, Alicia thinks back to that fight with Clevitus. After her limbs were severed and she was hurled into the sky, she caught a glimpse toward the world's edge for a heartbeat. There was no edge at all, the horizon kept running forever. To answer Mark, she sets her face and states firmly that it was absolutely worth it. She admits she isn't sure she has the right to say that after failing, yet she explains there are truths people never learn while their world stays small. Some things only come when you have the courage to take a leap. Says she learned that from Clen, who was arrogant and treated her like a dish rag. In spite of that, she's grateful to him. Without meeting him, her world would have ended without ever expanding. Emotion surges, and Alicia raises her voice, declaring there is meaning in making the world larger and better for the sake of the noble heroes who died trying, refuses to let anyone claim otherwise. Mark and the rest are plainly moved by Alicia's fierce words. He adds that the former king's one thing done right was choosing his heroes. He tells Alicia she's free to go, saying he'll rein in the younger hotheads behind him. As he turns away, he remarks that their next king needs to be alive to give it his all. That line leaves Alicia stunned, and she wonders if Mark already understands Luna's lineage. He then splits the citizens into two groups, sending one half to deal with the wall of bugs while he and the others take care of the soldiers. Before he can leave, a massive insect beast blocks his way and drives its needle tail into his chest. The creature is being piloted by Maynard, who wears a crooked grin. Then he mocks Mark, saying this is the price for letting Alicia go without his say-so. Alicia rips out her sword and charges, calling him a bastard. But Maynard only smirks, telling her she shouldn't be surprised Mark had it coming for wrecking his game. She demands what game he's talking about, and Maynard answers that it's the game where he watches Alicia get killed by the people of Hyden. That line ticks her off, so she unleashes Rising Dragon and hews the giant bug down in a single stroke. Maynard springs clear with the same smug face, asking why she didn't at least give him a warning first. Right after, Alicia shouts to the townspeople, urging them to get inside fast because the swarm is on its way. Just as she says, a cloud of insects comes rushing in. Even so, everyone including the wounded Mark manages to reach safety in time. As the door swings shut, Naru peeks through the window and sees Alicia still outside, pouring everything she has into holding the bugs off alone. She puts down the first wave, and Maynard can't help but be impressed. Still, he says, this is exactly what he expects from a hero like her, standing alone and fighting no matter the odds. But the only issue is how long she can keep going. Right then, Alicia crumples to the ground in pain. And at that moment, Maynard says offhand that he forgot to bring something up. The bugs were venomous from the start. If the big ones steal your focus, the little ones slip in and dose you before you even realize. He adds he couldn't control every insect in the area, from the bees overhead to the ants underfoot. Worst of all is a special spider breed whose venom can wreck human blood itself. Alicia suddenly feels something crawling along the back of her neck, and before she can smack it, the spider sinks its fangs into her. Maynard explains the toxin is potent enough to liquefy smaller creatures from the inside out. While Alicia fights for breath, he lays out why he hates heroes so much. In an ironic twist, he admits he used to idolize them. But when he was a kid, the so-called heroes never showed up when he truly needed them. When he lost everything, the neighbor next door helped more than any hero ever did. That's when he decided heroes are just people hiding behind sugar-coated titles. In his eyes, they can't protect anyone. The only ones who can protect anything, he sneers, are himself and General Drell. After that, Maynard unleashes another wave of bugs at Alicia. As she cuts them down, she realizes this is only getting worse, since his poison even works against Dark Ichor. Pushing through, she glances down and sees Clevitus calmly perched on her chest. He says little only reminds her to finish things here because a bigger job still waits. Alicia slips him into her dress fast so Maynard won't notice. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, some of the bugs start slipping through, and the citizens do their best to kill them before they cause any damage. Kari tells her sons to patch the gaps in the walls so no more get in. She reminds everyone that protecting Luna is the top priority, since he represents Hyden's future. So all they can do now is hope Alicia holds the swarm back outside, while they defend Luna within. Everyone agrees they've got what they need, and they start boarding the cabin with wooden planks. At the same time, Alicia holds her ground while Maynard keeps droning on full of himself. Without warning, a massive scorpion bursts from underground and whips its lethal stinger at her, slamming Alicia and sending her crashing into a nearby river. As she struggles in the water, Clevitus slips out of her chest and asks if the poison is what's slowing her down. Alicia admits she's sluggish not only because of the toxin, but also because her wounds refuse to heal. Clevitus explains that Maynard's poison affects dark ichor. It isn't strong enough to erase it completely, yet it blocks her recovery until the venom fades, which means she's temporarily lost her immortality. Meanwhile, up on the bank, Maynard stands steady and smug, mocking Alicia as she stays in the river, convinced she's too scared to show herself. Meanwhile, back inside the cabin, the townspeople finish their work, plugging the last gaps in the walls, when a sickening sound comes from above. With a wet thud, a huge larva drops from the ceiling, disgusting everyone inside by its presence alone. One of the citizens peeks out the window and spots even more gigantic larvae swarming across the area. They chew straight through the cabin walls, and it isn't just the cabin. Countless larvae are already devouring the entire forest around them. Back in town, citizens begin to hear loud crashes echoing from the direction Maynard went. Worried, they turn to Naya and demand to know why she didn't go with him. Naya answers plainly that she didn't go because she didn't want to die. She says she won't get in Maynard's way, since once he gets serious he never stops until nothing is left. After all, he's the master of all insects and the strongest wizard in the Bolade army. At the same time, deeper in the forest, Maynard keeps taunting Alicia while she remains in the river. He explains that the giant larvae surrounding him are special creatures that hatch only once every century. When they emerge, they devour everything in sight. This species is unique to a single island in the east. Every 100 years, these larvae strip the forest bare, leaving it completely barren. But the creatures are clever. They never consume the seeds. Instead, they stay dormant in their eggs until those seeds have grown into a new thriving forest. With a smug grin, Maynard tapped the magic crystal set in his chest and bragged that his sorcery could speed up that natural cycle. With power like that, he figured the building sheltering the citizens wouldn't last even a single minute. Alicia's anger snapped at his words. She burst from the river, yet as she lifted into the air, her eyes went wide. Maynard had been quietly nursing even more insects inside cocoons, and right then the shells split open. Suddenly, the newly hatched bugs rushed her with murder in their flight. Alicia swung her blade, trying to cut them back. Yet with every arc, she saw the shimmering dust from their wings held another poison. Her strength bled away with each heartbeat, while Maynard savored the struggle. At his command, the giant scorpion smashed her into the ground, after which a massive swarm of insects buried her beneath their bodies. That horrific sight made my body freaking tremble. Right before Alicia lost all hope, Clevitus stepped in. A crimson radiance burst from under the swarm, and from it her regalia sword rose, cleaving through the pile of insects. Maynard's eyes went wide in disbelief, recognized the weapon at once, and demanded to know where she had hidden it. Clevitus calmly told Alicia that most living creatures in this world are made of water, and insects are no exception. Treat a horde like a ball of water, and the regalia blade he gave her will cut them apart. With that, he urged her to finish this fight for good. Alicia pushed to her feet, her sword blazing with power. A harsh gust tore across the field as she unleashed her ultimate technique, Stream Splitter, and in a single clean stroke, she erased the whole swarm of insects. Watching from a distance, Nia stared in disbelief as all of Maynard's creatures were wiped out. Alicia leveled her sword at Maynard and ordered him to surrender. She quickly understood he would never yield, so she knocked him out cold. Exhausted, Alicia finally collapsed. Naru then rushed to catch her, but to her surprise, Clen was already there, holding Alicia in his arms. Clen looked serious and said that things had changed, which was why he had come to call them back. While Alicia was still weak, she managed to ask whether Clen had defeated Drell. Clen replied that he hadn't, because Drell wasn't alone. He had another Lord of Dark Beasts at his side. Over in the ruins of the Kingdom of Hideout, evacuation efforts are underway, and close to 80% of the survivors have already been moved into the underground bunker. Even so, Queen Tala refuses to leave, not until she finds her son. One of the elders pleads with her, reminding Tala that she is the only one left who can rule this kingdom. But Tala refuses to run, saying what kind of mother would she be if she abandoned her child. The elder understands her feelings, yet questions how Tala can be so sure her son is alive when no trace of him has been seen since the attack. Tala explains that she knows because the Forge of Hideout still glows with its usual bright red light. Under normal conditions, with the king gone, the forge would fall dormant until someone worthy appeared. The fact it still burns means a member of the royal bloodline lives on, and the only one besides the late king is her son. So she insists their top priority is to find him and keep him safe until he's old enough to claim the forge. As long as they succeed, the kingdom of Haydn will survive. The path forward is clear, but Tala can't help feeling frustrated, because none of this would have happened if she had managed to flee the capital with her son as she originally planned. The elder asks what she means, so Tala admits that before Clevitus's assault, she had a vision warning her this would happen. She foresaw that the heroes were too weak to defeat the dark beasts and that Clevitus would destroy the capital in retaliation. But she never knew exactly when it would strike, and because of that, she lost her chance to escape. Right then, the Queen's messenger Fabio returns, saying he carries urgent news. He reports that Drell's army of 50,000 clashed with the forces of Eslin along the Merrill River. The soldiers of Eslin fought bravely, yet they were no match for Drell's overwhelming magic. But just as the battle ended, Clevitus suddenly appeared and obliterated nearly half of Drell's army in an instant. And what came after was even more shocking. Moments later, Drell somehow conjured a strange red sphere that managed to trap Clevitus. And this news shakes Tala, because how can she handle someone powerful enough to defeat a dark beast lord? Now Drell and the 20,000 soldiers he still has are marching this way, and none of them know what to do. Tala refuses to accept it, since that goes against everything their traditions say. Only heroes are supposed to stand against dark beast lords, but Fabio reminds her that Drell was once a hero, and he still holds his regalia, so technically he meets the prophecy. Still, Tala refuses to believe that a man like Drell, who would lead an army to invade another land, could ever be the hero foretold. So she announces that she will confront him and break his regalia, because he doesn't deserve to wield it. Fabio then wonders if such a thing is even possible, and Tala explains that as long as she carries the sacred hammer of Haydn, she can kick his ass, since it's the only weapon that can forge or destroy regalia. However, the elder tries to stop her from rushing into something reckless, reminding her that only the king of Haydn is allowed to wield that hammer. But with the king dead, until her son takes the throne, she says she will serve as the king, and that gives her every right to hold it. No one can argue with that, so they help her into her armor while Fabio suddenly runs off to fetch the hammer. Just then he returns, and Tala thanks him before taking it from its case, and with that power, she gets ready to face Drell and his army. Meanwhile, over in the village, Pete drags Naya to Alicia just as she asked, and he still can't get over how badass she looked when she cut down all those bugs with a single swing. He swears he'll be her personal errand boy as long as she's around, and Alicia is surprised by how nice Pete is being. But since he offered, she asks if he can also bring Naru over. At the same time, Pete bolts off to do what Alicia asked, and Clen congratulates her, saying it looks like she just got her first servant. Alicia tells him to quit teasing, because it's not like she wants one. What she really wants now is a clean set of clothes, since she's completely covered in bug guts. Right then, Naya speaks up and wants to know why they dragged her here, since her knees hurt and she just wants to head home. Alicia thinks it's odd that Pete managed to grab Naya so easily, especially since Naru mentioned she could control magnetism. As it turns out, Pete didn't come at her with any weapons, so there was nothing for her to manipulate, and against that much muscle, she was completely powerless. Anyway, Alicia says she's got a couple of things she needs to know, so she tells Naya to spill whatever she can about Drell and his connection to the Dark Beast Lords. Naya has no idea what Alicia means, so Alicia rephrases and wonders if Naya has ever seen Drell's dark ichor. She explains it's blood that moves on its own, but Naya looks genuinely confused and says she's never seen anything like it, and honestly, it sounds nasty. Alicia can tell she's not lying, but Clen is sure what Drell used really was dark ichor, and only dark beast lords are able to produce it. Drell on his own wouldn't be that big of a threat, but with one of those monsters backing him, they need to figure it out fast. Since Clevitus is already here, the only lords left who could be behind Drell are Zafthir of the west, Rathwell of the east, and Vorden of the north. And if one of them really decided to bare their fangs at Clevitus by using Drell, then he'll make sure they regret it. Speaking of Drell, Alicia turns to Clen and asks if it's really okay that he left his body behind and came here in his smaller form. But Clen says that wasn't his real body anyway. It works better if whoever is helping Drell thinks Clevitus is trapped, since that gives him the edge to corner his foe. At that moment, Naya, who's been trying to get their attention for a while, cuts in and asks if they're finally done, because she wants to leave. Sure, she's helpless without metal to work with, but she still has the metal from her gauntlets, so she can't control it while it's pressed against her skin. But since her arms are so thin, with some effort she slips a hand free. Then she tosses the gauntlets into the air, hooks her handbag over them, and uses that to fly off. Clem and Alicia didn't expect that at all, so they just watch as Naya floats away. Right then, while she's flying, Naya spots Naru and Luna in a cart headed toward Alicia and Clem, and she notices the wheels carry metal. So she decides to seize the chance since Drell will chew her out if she comes back empty-handed. She drops onto the roof and says she'll be taking them to Hydrat. Then she snaps her gauntlets and knocks the brothers out. And after that she hauls the whole carriage into the air to snatch Naru and Luna. However, just when she figures she got away clean, she realizes Clem is somehow sitting beside her, and he tells her to pick up the pace because there isn't much time to waste. Alicia sets her sword to Naya's neck and explains the cart was prepared for this exact purpose, so forcing Naya to give them a ride to Hydrat works perfectly. Since the blade is pure hidden metal, Naya cannot manipulate it, so she does the smart thing and surrenders, agreeing to carry the group to Hydrat without a fight. Down on the ground, the brothers are relieved when they realize Clem and Alicia made it onto the carriage safely, so they start waving goodbye and yell that Alicia is always welcome to come back. The rest of the townsfolk say the same thing as the cart soars overhead, and Alicia feels glad she managed to leave such a positive impact on their lives, since it makes her feel like a badass hero. Clem teases her for the smug expression on her face, and Alicia says she earned at least that much since she did manage to save the town. But Clem reminds her she only pulled it off with his help. Naru does not follow every detail, yet she says Alicia was extremely heroic, and it hits her as a real shock when she learns Luna is the Prince of Hidden. She says she wants to know whether it is truly alright for her to hold him so casually, since someone in her position is usually not allowed to touch a royal. But Clem says that is a dumb rule, and he adds that Naru holds a special role, and has been invaluable in keeping Luna alive. She is also several times stronger than any regular human now, so if anyone ever tries telling her she is worthless, she should crush them. Alicia steps in and clarifies that Naru cannot go around crushing people, but Clem says that is how he has always dealt with those damn haters, so he does not see a problem with it. Not long after, the group reaches a stretch of mountains, and on the other side sits the capital of Hydrat. Clem leans toward Alicia and tells her she'd better be ready for what's waiting. Since he can't show himself, he won't be stepping in, and if Drell discovers the dark ichor inside her, her recovery is going to be cut short. Even with all that, Alicia answers that she's ready to face him and take revenge for her father. So Naya guides the cart over the peaks, and once the city comes into view, the smoke and chaos make it clear the place is already under attack. Drell has to be somewhere close, and Alicia finally spots him standing bold on top of the castle wall. She doesn't waste a breath, she grabs Naya's arm and forces her to drive the cart straight at him. Right then on the castle walls, Princess Tala rallies the knights who carry enchanted blades, telling them their swords come close to rivaling Drell's regalia. So if anyone has a shot at slowing him down, it's them. Still, you can feel in your gut, these poor bastards don't stand a chance. They charge in hard trying to surround him, but Drell doesn't even twitch. He just watches them with that cold look and mutters that they're nothing but a nuisance. At that moment, the knights know damn well they're done for, but loyalty to the kingdom keeps them charging anyway, throwing their lives away just to buy time for the archer squad to line up a shot. Even with the cleanest angle, the archers choke, and Drell twists his form into a blade to slip right past the volley. Tala and the others are left shaken, struggling to believe what they saw, since Drell just shifted into a weapon in the middle of combat, and none of them know what that means. The shield bearers step in to hold him back, but they're blown off their feet instantly, and Drell grips Tala by the throat. He sneers at her effort to protect Haydn, then tells her she'll never sit on the throne. Tala already knows that she has no royal blood, and only the strongest heir has the right to claim the crown. If every successor falls, the title passes to the nearest relative, but Drell makes it clear he's ending that tradition here and now. Tala can't promise she'll make it out alive, yet she's sure one clean swing from the hammer will be enough to shatter Drell's regalia, so she needs a distraction to buy herself a sliver of time. Right then, Alicia comes crashing down from the flying carriage, and it throws Tala for a damn loop, so she takes the opening and brings the hammer down toward Drell's sword. At the same time, Clem and Naru watch from a distance, and Naru worries about whether Alicia can hold her own against Drell, while Clem says it doesn't really matter whether she wins or loses, since the whole point is keeping him busy. Drell and whoever backs him are after the Forge of Haydn, so Clen wants to reach it first. And that is why he brought Luna. Since only royal blood can lift the seal, Clen already knows the forge's location, so he leads Naru to a section of the castle wall and tells her the forge sits on the far side. He could smash through in a heartbeat, but he needs to stay out of sight here, so he tells Naru to handle it instead. Naru pauses and checks whether he truly wants her to do it, since the wall looks solid as a rock. But Clen explains that when he healed her, he packed the strength of a troll into those thin arms, so her power should be several times greater than even the toughest troll. Naru decides to trust him and gives the stone a cautious push, and to her surprise the block rockets off its base with way more force than she expected. It sails clean over to the other side and slams down right where the guards assigned to protect the forge are stationed. For some reason she feels her kill count rise a little, while Clen tells her she's imagining things and urges her to move, since they don't have much time. Meanwhile, at the forge entrance, Fabio and a handful of guards manage to survive Naru's accidental hit. But before they can process what just happened, Clen pulls them into the shadows and neutralizes the area. And once he reaches the doorway, he carefully presses Luna's hand to the seal so it unlocks. After some time, Gart swoops down to check on the strange bubbles holding Clevitus's body. He's convinced that Clevitus should have been able to break free from something like this already, so it makes no sense why he's still stuck inside. Gart gives the bubble a hard kick to see if it'll break, but the thing is tough as steel, and he realizes there's no way he has the strength to shatter it. Right then, Rhodey comes around the corner and introduces himself. He noticed Gart descend from the sky and figures that must be his magic ability, so he wants to ask for a favor. He explains that he needs Gart to fly him to the capital of Haydn because by now Drell and his army have surely launched their assault, and he has to put a stop to it. Gart was about to brush him off, but he recalls watching the battle earlier and clearly remembers Rhodey getting his ass kicked by Drell. So he wonders why Rhodey is looking for another fight now. Rhodey admits he probably doesn't stand a chance, but somebody has to stop Drell before he seizes the Forge of Haydn. If Drell gets his hands on that treasure and fuses it with his magic, the entire land will be hit with a catastrophic disaster. Hearing the word magic jogs Gart's memory of what Zafthir told him before this mission. And if such a calamity is truly looming, then maybe he should look deeper into it by using Rhodey as a cover. Gart finally tells Rhodey he'll help him reach Hydrat, but only under two conditions. First, once they arrive, Rhodey must assist Gart with his mission for a while, and second, he isn't allowed to ask anything about Gart's identity. Rhodey asks what will happen if he breaks those conditions, and Gart flat out tells him he'll kill him. Rhodey answers that he can't betray his homeland, but aside from that, he accepts Gart's demands. Gart then spreads his wings wide and tells him to grab on if he doesn't want to be left behind. So Rhodey latches onto Gart's ankle, and together they head toward Hydrat. At the same time in the capital, Clen is still struggling to open the forged seal with Luna's help, but nothing seems to work. He also feels breaking their way in isn't wise, so he thinks of another approach and decides to try from above. He tells Naru she'll have to watch Luna alone for a bit. Then he springs up to the top of the furnace chimney. The blast of heat pouring out is insane, strong enough that any ordinary dark beast would be reduced to ashes if they dared to enter this way. But Clen isn't some ordinary beast, he's built for this, so without wasting time, he dives straight in. Outside at that moment, Naru is suddenly approached by a strange man, and when she turns to see who it is, she's completely horrified. As for Clen, while making his way down the chimney, he realizes the heat is far beyond what he can endure. So he slips into the shadow of a brick he knocked loose to shield himself. He's struck by how much energy the forge is giving off even though it's dormant, and although he wants to see what's inside, he knows the instant he tries he'll end up burned alive. Soon after, Clen notices that the forge doors have been opened, and what worries him more is that Naru is lying unconscious at the front while Luna is nowhere in sight. A moment later, a mysterious man appears, stepping out from a corner of the room with Luna in his hand and his head in the other. It turns out he is the king of Haydn, though from the condition of his body, it's clear he should already be dead. At the same time, Alicia is still locked in combat with Drell, and the fight isn't in her favor. Drell mocks her, saying she's nowhere near the strength her father had, and as much as she hates to admit it, he's right since she's barely keeping up with him. She's sent flying back into a group of his soldiers, but they're not worth her time, so she looks around the battlefield to spot him again and sees he's heading toward the castle, so she immediately chases after. When Drell lands on the wall, the queen and the soldiers she has left fire another wave of arrows at him. But at this point, it's nothing more than a minor annoyance. He cuts every single arrow in half without effort. The attack doesn't harm him, yet it gives Alicia just enough time to close the distance, so she launches at him with a rising sword slash. But Drell is the very one who created that move in the first place, so he blocks it with ease and answers back with a stronger technique, the dragonfly scythe slash. Hundreds of slashes rush at Alicia all at once, but to his surprise she comes out of it with her body still intact, so he acknowledges her skill and says she truly has talent, just as expected from the daughter of the swordmaster. Alicia doesn't want to hear any empty praise from Drell, so she raises her sword and demands to know what happened between him and her father, and why he ended up killing him. Drell answers that her father Margot had once been his friend, that they trained in the same sword school, and also competed against each other for the right to become a hero. Alicia is stunned because this is the first time she's ever heard about it, and Drell is just as surprised that she doesn't know the story. So he puts his sword away and says he'll tell her everything about how he gained the name Drell the Dragon Slayer and how her father abandoned the path of a hero. 25 years ago, Drell and Margot faced one another in a tournament to decide who would wield the very first regalia weapon that the King of Haydn had forged at the time. Back then, they were still close friends, so as the match began, they both promised to fight at their full strength. By the end of that duel, Margot came out on top, and even though Drell was crushed at losing the chance to become a hero, he kept his composure and congratulated Margot for the win. Once Margot was declared champion, he was formally given the title of Swordmaster along with the regalia. The king told him that once he accepted the blade, he had to live as a hero, fighting dark beasts and defending humanity. Margot agreed to the duty, so the king handed him the regalia, and the moment he drew it from the sheath, he felt raw power rush through his body. It was incredible, but the king explained that the weapon was still unfinished, and Margot himself would have to complete it. When Margot asked what that meant, the king clarified that every regalia carries a soul, and the first being slain by that blade becomes the soul trapped inside it, so he should choose that first kill carefully. Sometime later, Margot and Drell met at a nearby tavern to talk about what came next. Margot said he was planning to gather an expedition team for his first mission, so they could deal with weaker threats along the way, since it would be terrible if something like a dark beast bug ended up as the blade's first kill. Then, speaking of that first kill, he told Drell he was considering hunting one of the northern dragons. The moment Drell heard those words, he jumped up in alarm and warned Margot not to even think about doing something that reckless. He understood why Margot wanted a powerful darkness sealed inside his regalia, but the northern dragons were known to serve the dark beast Lord Vorden, and picking a fight with one of them at that time was nothing short of a death sentence. On top of that, the dragons lived deep in the snowy mountains, and there was no way Margot could survive terrain like that while wielding an incomplete regalia. Still, Margot insisted it was the only path open to him if he ever hoped to challenge a dark beast lord. Drell was already doubtful that Margot could stand against a regular dragon, but aiming for a dark beast lord was insanity. The old tales always spoke of heroes eventually defeating the lords of darkness, but Drell had never believed them. Even so, he knew better than anyone that Margot was the strongest swordsman alive, so if anyone had a chance of doing it, it would be him. Margot stood up and told Drell they had to start preparing for the expedition. He was fully confident that together they could bring down a dragon, but once they set out, the reality was far harsher than he expected. The icy mountains were brutal, and although they managed to spot a dragon fairly quickly, it also spotted them. It turned on them instantly and spewed a stream of burning stomach acid. That single attack wiped out the entire expedition force, leaving only Margot and Drell standing. Drell urged Margot to retreat since the two of them had almost no chance of winning, but running wasn't really possible either because the dragon would just chase them down. Their only shot was to strike it head-on and kill it before it killed them. Though that was easier said than done with the beast soaring above and using the skies to stay beyond their reach. They had to act fast, so Margot came up with a plan. He told Drell to launch him with the rising dragon technique. It was a gamble, but the only way he'd get close enough. Drell agreed and charged forward, striking Margot with the rising dragon slash. The move worked exactly as intended, sending Margot flying high into the air, and once he rose above the dragon's body, he swung down hard and shredded its wings to pieces. Not long after, the dragon crashes into the ground, and now it's finally Margot's chance to finish the fight. Drell can do nothing but watch from the side in awe as he sees the incredible skill Margot is showing against the beast. Even stripped of its wings, the dragon is still savage. Yet Margot pushes harder, his swings becoming sharper and more precise with every strike, making Drell start to believe that he might actually be able to kill it. But that's when disaster struck. Margot was ready to deliver the last blow, and it looked like a certain victory. But mid-step, one of his feet caught on a rock for just a moment, and that brief slip was all the dragon needed. It instantly lashed its claws and tore Margot's foot clean off, crushing his chances of winning or ever becoming a hero. At that moment, Margot realized this was the end for him. So in his final second, he threw his sword toward Drell and shouted at him to finish the job. Right before the dragon stomped him into silence, Drell barely had time to think about what had just happened. But he knew what had to be done, so he grabbed the regalia and rushed straight at the weakened dragon. With all the damage Margot had already inflicted, Drell was able to slice the dragon's head off, and he could hardly believe what he had done. He turned back toward Margot, ready to tell him that the dragon was defeated. But then the regalia began pulling in the soul of the dragon. Drell felt the overwhelming energy flowing into the blade, filling him with more strength than he had ever known. But the moment the sword finished absorbing the soul, he felt a terrifying presence appear behind him. All the noise had drawn the attention of Dark Beast Lord Vorti, and the next thing Drell remembered was waking up in a pool of his own blood, though strangely his body was still perfectly intact. After that, Drell managed to haul Margot and one other survivor back to the city, and from there Margot stepped off the hero's path and lived out the rest of his days, until the day Drell killed him. All that time, even after Drell earned the Dragon Slayer name and took up the mantle of hero, his doubts about the so-called hero legend never faded. He is convinced those tales are packed with lies, and that the royal family is hiding the most important parts of the truth behind them. The queen has no clue what Drell is talking about, and there is nothing she can say now that will change his mind. Alicia asks Drell whether the missing piece in those legends is magic, and Drell confirms it. He says the voices in his head have been telling him the same thing ever since the day he encountered Vortin, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. Drell uses necromancy magic to call up an undead dragon skeleton, knocks Alicia from the wall with it, then takes off on the skeleton's back so he can claim the forge. Down on the ground, Alicia survives the fall, but her arm and leg are in terrible shape, so she uses the dark ichor to repair them, and it still hurts so damn much. She tries to reach Clen through their mental link to warn him that Drell is on his way to the forge, but Clen tells her to stay quiet because something interesting is happening right in front of him. The king of Hyden is about to throw his grandson into the forge for some reason, and it looks like the king has really lost his head this time. Alicia asks Clen what he means, yet before any reply, the queen walks up to her. She says she is glad to see Alicia again since she thought she had fallen to Clevitus during a mission. She asks whether any of the other heroes managed to survive, and Alicia tells her that sadly she is the only one who made it back alive. The queen is disappointed to hear it, but even so, it is a huge relief to have Alicia here. With Hydrat in its current shape, the best they can do is hold Drell's forces at bay for a while, and none of their soldiers can stand against Drell and his overwhelming magic. Their only real hope is Alicia and her regalia, so the queen asks if she is willing to stop Drell for the kingdom's sake. Alicia promises she will do her best to stop him, but there is something important she needs to raise first. She tells Tala that her son is still alive and that he is in Hyden right now. Tala freezes at the news because no one has had any information about her son's whereabouts up to this point. Alicia is certain Luna must be Tala's son since he clearly carries royal blood. The queen is overjoyed to hear her child is alive and begs Alicia to take her to him. Alicia says it is too dangerous for the queen to come along since there is no telling how bad the situation might be over there. She promises to bring Luna back so Tala can see him, but that is not good enough for her. She may be the queen, but she is also Luna's mother, and if he is in danger she cannot sit still and wait. Alicia understands how Tala feels, so she agrees to bring her along. But meanwhile in the forge, the beheaded body of the king is preparing to make a sacrifice to the forge. Clen watches at first to see where this is headed, but once it becomes clear the king intends to throw Luna in, Clen grabs his arm to stop him. He asks whether this is how a grandparent should treat a grandson, and the king admits he knows how twisted this is. He does not want to go through with it, yet he is not in control of his body right now. The will of the forge is directing his actions, and throwing Luna in is part of the process of making him the next king. For generations, anyone set to become king has been thrown into the forge and burned to ash, and moments later the forge resurrects them with a new body, making them unable to disobey its will. Usually, after the naming rite, the child destined to be king normally has their name etched into the forge, and once that mark is set, the forge inevitably drives the child to jump in. Since Clevitus struck before Luna's name could be carved, the forge couldn't compel him to leap, so it settled for the next best move and briefly brought the late king's body back, using him as a tool to throw Luna inside. Clen asks if that means the king himself once got forced to dive into the forge and ended up living on as its puppet, and that is exactly the case. The very same fate was said to await Luna's father, the king's son. He was so horrified at the idea of being chained to the forge's will that he took what he saw as the brave path and jumped from the castle walls in flashy fashion. The king calls that choice foolish, since ending his own life only pushed the line of succession forward to the next candidate. The tradition rolls on regardless, and the king drops Luna into the forge, reducing him to ash in an instant. At the same time, out above the city, Drell soars past on his dragon, and the voices in his head sound convincing enough that he now believes the world can only be saved by destroying it, dragging out whatever lies within the forge. At the same time on the ground, Alicia tells Tala to get on her back so she can carry her to the forge as fast as possible. While they move, Tala explains that she was never a true ruler, so plenty of things were kept from her. When her husband was chosen to become king, he took his own life. Even so, he told her one thing before he did it. He said the real heroes are gone, and there is no way the current crop can defeat the Dark Beast Lords. Tala didn't fully grasp what he meant back then. Yet he might have been onto something. Haydn has more than 1,000 years of history, and there are no records of anyone even coming close to beating a Dark Beast Lord. There isn't any proof that defeating those lords would even let them explore the wider world, so she starts to wonder who crafted that legend in the first place. She tried asking her husband for answers, but he seemed unable to speak about it for some reason, and only gave her a sad smile. Tala believes the kings of Haydn have hidden the truth from everyone for generations, and if that is right, then the former king sent Alicia and the other heroes out while knowing they wouldn't be strong enough to win. To Tala, that was simply irresponsible. Even so, Alicia says she would have taken that assignment even with terrible odds, because to her it was never just about fighting a Dark Beast Lord. It was about meeting an impossible trial head-on with a hero's optimism, and that is how she intends to keep living until she can break the vicious cycle driving all of this. By contrast, Drell is someone who surrendered to despair and turned away from the path of a hero to wipe everything out. Of course, Alicia wants payback for what he did to her father, but more than that, she needs to stop him to prove she is right to live as a hero. Tala tells Alicia she is a great hero, yet Alicia sees herself as weak. She is not as strong as Drell and nowhere near the raw power of the Dark Beasts, and even so she refuses to quit. She had actually planned to give up being a hero at first, but then she met someone who would not let her. And right now that person is grinning ear to ear because he finds his situation hilarious. The king of Haydn has just dropped Luna into the furnace, or so he thinks. The one that burned to ash is a shadow clone Clen prepared, while the real Luna is still tucked safely in Clen's arms. Clen mocks the king, asking what happens next now that he has obviously failed the task the forge forced on him. The king says nothing, just stares at Clen as his body tilts backward and falls into the forge. Watching the king's body crumble to ash, Clen is a little surprised by the twist, but he is certain this is not over, so he shouts for the master of the forge to come out and face him already. A moment later, huge flames roar out of the forge and the mountainside is blasted apart by the explosion. Drell sees the blast and the voice in his head pushes him to move now because there is no time to waste. Alicia and Tala witness the forge erupt and Drell angling straight for it, and Tala is terrified for Luna's safety. Alicia calls for her to hold position because things are far too dangerous for the queen to get pulled in now. She is fairly sure Clen would never let Luna die to something like this, but it turns into a serious problem if Drell reaches them first. Right as Drell is about to breach the forge, Gart sweeps overhead and drops Rhodey off just as promised. Rhodey calls out Drell's name and vows to stop him, then powers up his spear and shapes a huge ice spike at the tip. The frozen javelin drives straight through Drell's dragon, and Gart finds the whole scene fascinating, so he hangs back in the sky to watch how everything unfolds from a distance. Once they hit the ground, a massive dust cloud rises, and Rhodey wonders if that last strike actually brought Drell down. As the dust clears, he sees Drell manage to block the attack. So Rhodey gets flung back and Drell moves in to finish him. Out of nowhere, Alicia rushes in and knocks Drell's swords aside. Drell grows irritated by the constant interruptions, so he decides to end this quickly and gets ready to take them both on. Alicia and Rhodey gather themselves, and since this is their first meeting, Rhodey asks if she happens to be a hero. Alicia confirms it. They introduce themselves briefly, but there's no time for talk with Drell still looming. Rhodey asks if he can count on her to fight with him, and she replies she was about to ask the same thing, since either of them fighting Drell alone would never work. Drell laughs at the thought that joining forces could give them any chance, saying it makes no difference because their power is limited by their human bodies, while he has no such weakness. In a flash, Drell appears behind them and delivers a slash so strong it sends both Alicia and Rhodey flying. Then he strikes again, blasting them into the air, and while they are still dazed, he soars upward and drives a blade straight into Alicia's chest. Rhodey tries to slip in an attack while Drell is focused on her, but Drell catches it easily, grabbing him by the wrist before throwing both him and Alicia back down. Then Drell hovers above, glaring down in mockery, before diving to finish the fight. The two scramble to come up with a plan, and Alicia tells Rhodey to use his ice javelin once more. Rhodey doesn't understand the reason but trusts her, so he raises his spear and summons another javelin of ice. As expected, Drell dodges it with no effort and feels insulted that Rhodey would attempt something so obvious. But when he looks back, Alicia is gone. She had leapt onto the javelin mid-flight to get behind Drell and cut off his escape. Rhodey then spends the last of his strength to freeze Drell's feet in place, giving Alicia the perfect chance to drop from above and slice him clean in two. Yet Drell is barely fazed by being split apart, because his real form now rests inside his sword. The sword spins back and shoots straight at Alicia, slicing off her arm and slamming her to the ground. Rhodey rushes in to catch her, and above him he sees Drell's body reforming out of dark ichor. Drell admits their struggle is impressive, but insists it's meaningless since people like them could never become real heroes. For him, the proof lies in how humans need to implant magic stones just to cast spells. To Drell, that shows everyone on this continent is beneath the true humans who once ruled the entire world centuries ago. Today's humans, and even the dark beasts, are nothing but pieces in a game controlled by those ancient humans, and the game will never end unless someone stops it. That's why he wants to reduce every trace of this so-called hero legend to ash and start fresh. And until then, he's willing to commit any atrocity it takes. Clen listens to every word through his bond with Alicia and finally understands what Drell, and by extension, his master Vorden, are after. Clen himself has never seen these true humans Drell keeps bringing up, so he figures they must have vanished before he rose as a dark beast lord, which means this book has to be one of the last fragments of the true human legend. The moment the book shows up, the forge disappears, and Clen realizes it was nothing more than that book pushing the kings of Hyden to take their own lives. It can even bring them back as puppets to serve its goal. He starts to wonder if everything so far traces back to this book controlling the royal line of Hyden, from Alicia and the other heroes striking the southern beast forest to the human kingdom going to war, and even Clen's own urge to exterminate humanity. All of it looks like the book's plot to lead him right here. Clen laughs at the ridiculousness of it all, and at himself for being manipulated so easily despite being a dark beast lord. Since he never inherited the memories of the previous lord, there's plenty he doesn't know, but it makes sense his very role was created to fight against those hidden true humans Drell spoke of. If that's the case, then everything he believed about this world was wrong. Thinking about it now, he questions why he even cared about this human runt in the first place. Then he sets Luna down and walks away, no longer interested in wiping out mankind or even dealing with them at all. He lets the book of Toe drop to the floor and turns to leave. But Alicia has heard every word through their link and calls the whole speech complete crap. Clen is thrown for a second, hearing her voice again, since he honestly never believed she would last this long against Drell. Her current state is rough, and he can tell. Still, that is not the point she wants to make right now. She presses him on whether he truly thinks it is fine to walk away after everything he set in motion. And he answers that he finally understands what Drell and Vorden are chasing, so he has no reason to stand in their way. If they intend to scour the world clean of anything tied to the heroes, that stays outside his concerns, and whatever happens to fragile humans as a consequence is not his problem. He tells Alicia that if she wants to live, she should drop the mantle of hero and let the tide carry things where it will. She was never negotiating for her own life. Then she asks whether he can honestly call the world meaningless after looking into Luna's eyes. She says true humanity, true heroes, and every line of that prophecy mean nothing to her. Those so-called true humans in the legend, she does not even know what they were anymore. And if they are gone now, if they could not hack it in this world, then nothing grants them the authority to brand themselves a superior species. That hits and Clen feels it. Then he pivots and looks back at Luna, sees the kid bawling while forcing himself upright. He wobbles and drops the first time, tries again, and after a handful of shaky attempts, Luna plants a foot and takes his first step. Watching that small stubborn motion reminds Clen that humanity still has room to learn and to grow from what came before. So maybe there is a path towards something better. At the same time, out on the ruins, Drell tells Alicia to think hard about what she is doing, since she should know there is no way she can bring him down without a regalia. Even so, Alicia keeps driving straight at him. Drell calls this the end of the road and lines up to carve her to pieces, and in that last breath he gets blasted aside by a stone block hurled by Naru, which buys just enough space for Alicia to sprint toward her regalia. As soon as Drell breaks past the block, he shoots straight at her, and Alicia slides under him. The moment she gets close to her regalia, she uses her dark ichor to pull her severed hand back to her. Seeing that rattles Drell for a heartbeat when he realizes the same dark ichor runs in her veins, and that brief hesitation gives her the opening to drive a rising dragon strike into him. Everyone on the ground looks up in awe at the move Alicia just threw down, and then Rhodey notices that Drell actually caught the blow on his sword, so he is still fine. Right after that, during the clash, he slices Alicia across the chest. Her body whips backward, and she starts falling. Drell mocks her and says a fake hero with no drive never stood a chance against him. Mid-fall, she fires back that he is the one who lacks real ambition. He was so sure the hero legend had to be false just because he felt weaker than the Dark Beast Lords, and he never stopped to consider that it might have been a straight-up skill problem. Hearing Alicia call him a weakling lights Drell's fuse, and he charges at her blind with rage. Alicia stays steady and tells him he might want to get his eyes checked, because when she struck earlier, she was not aiming for his body. Her real target was the blade. Drell ignores the warning, lifts that sword for the final cut, and right then it shatters in his hands. He cannot believe it since breaking a regalia should be impossible. Alicia says she is not even sure how she managed to damage it either. But every time their blades met, she heard tiny screams from inside his sword, so she knew it could be broken. Tala hears that and remembers she slammed Drell's sword with the hammer of Haydn earlier in the fight. It did not destroy it in one swing, still it must have done serious harm. Alicia is still dropping, so Naru sprints in and catches her before she hits the ground, and she looks like she will be alright. The same cannot be said for Drell. His entire body is dark ichor now, and with his regalia ruined, Vorden has clearly lost faith in him, so what follows turns ugly fast. All at once, the dark ichor tears out of Drell as his flesh breaks down, a clear sign that Vorden no longer intends to back him and is pulling that power back even if it costs Drell his life. He screams in pain while his body comes apart piece by piece and pleads with Vorden not to abandon him, says he has not wiped out the hero legend yet, but it is far too late. In his last moments, Drell runs through everything he has done, and deep down he admits the reason he raged against the prophecy was that it fed Margot false hope and marched him toward ruin. That is why he cut the deal with Vorden, trading for his and Margot's survival. Looking at himself now, he wonders why he pushed it this far. Before long, his body unravels completely, leaving only a cloud of dark ichor mist and his shattered regalia behind. Even so, with Drell gone, Alicia still worries Vorden might try something, and she knows she would not be able to stop him. Right then, Clen appears and tells her there is no need to fret, since Vorden is not the sort of beast who handles matters like this in person. As for the dark ichor, it has no real force without a host, so it will drift back to Vorden sooner or later. Alicia feels the weight lift, and she is also glad to see Clen chose to keep Luna close after all. Moments later, Tala walks up, overwhelmed with joy at seeing her son for the first time in weeks. She drops everything and sprints to scoop him up, but Clen tells her to hold right where she is. Alicia starts to worry he will refuse to return the child, yet that is not what he intends. He says it is fitting for a future king to return to his mother under his own power, then sets Luna on the ground and tells him to walk to her. Tala is amazed to see her little boy on his own 2 feet, and tears roll as he makes his way into her arms. The reunion is tender, and Alicia cannot help noting the irony, since Clen is the one who wrecked the city and pretty much carried Luna off in the first place. Moments later, the grind of the fight catches up with Alicia, so she drops to the grass to rest. Rhodey and Naru hurry over, worried her wounds might be fatal, but she tells them there is nothing to fear. Injuries of this sort will not finish her. So instead of fussing over her, she wants Rhodey to head down and tell the troops that Drell has fallen. Rhodey nods, snatches up Drell's broken regalia, and rushes down the slope to spread the news. Clen watches Rhodey sprint off and for once, feels oddly satisfied with how things wrapped up. Even so, he keeps the book of Toe in hand and plans to hold on to it until he can figure out what it really is. Right then, one of Vorden's avatars forms behind him and hisses that he will regret this, since the legend of Toe will soon come to pass. Clen has no idea what that even means, and he sure does not want Vorden to be the one to explain it. So he snaps his shadows forward and cuts the familiar down. That closes this chapter. Yet the story is nowhere near finished, since Clen still has a lot left to learn about humans. Rhodey marches onto the field and raises his voice so every line can hear that Drell has fallen to the hero Alicia. As proof, he lifts Drell's shattered regalia high for all to see. The moment the soldiers under Drell grasp that their commander is truly dead, the will to keep fighting drains out of them, because they know they cannot win. The host starts pulling back in disorder, and Rhodey, not wanting more blood spilled, orders his men to stand down and let the enemy withdraw without pursuit. The news rolls across the battlefield in waves, and even fighters locked in close combat halt the instant the message reaches them, blades sliding into sheaths as the shouting fades. As for Naya, she has been sprawled in a haystack the whole time, and now that the war has ended she has no idea what to do next. Over on a distant rise, Guard has watched the entire fight from afar, and with nothing left to observe he turns away and lifts into the air to deliver his report. At the same time by the lake, the kingdom's high priest stands before the blood sphere holding Clevitus, and one of his guards reaches toward the surface. The priest yanks the man's hand back and says he cannot just lay a finger on a thing like that. Whatever is inside is still alive, and for reasons of its own, it is choosing not to emerge, and the priest intends to keep it that way. He orders a tight cordon, no one gets close, not even to sneak a look. Back in the ruins of Haydn, Alicia, Naru, and Clen wait inside one of the houses left standing. Naru finishes wrapping bandages around Alicia's body. She does not really need them, since Clen already healed her, yet showing up without a mark after a deadly fight with Drell would raise questions they do not want to answer. Even so, with the wounds closed, the hurt from those blows still lingers and gnaws at her, a deep ache that makes it hard to keep her thoughts straight while she lies there and works to steady her breathing. Clen tells Alicia he had to seal a fatal wound in an instant to keep her alive, so pain is inevitable. On top of that, he let a little blood flow so no one would catch on about the dark ichor. He plans to keep that buried as long as possible, so he asks Naru to keep her mouth shut about it and treat it as classified. Alicia asks whether he believes what Drell said about a race of true humans being the only ones who could become true heroes. Clen says he has no idea. What he does know is that the name Toe sits at the heart of the legend, and the book has been steering Haydn's kings for generations, so the original secret has to be locked inside. Locked is literal here. When the book spawned, it came with a key. He tried to open it to see what was written, only to find the key did nothing. The sensible conclusion is that the key he holds matches a sister volume somewhere else in the world. Where that copy rests and how many copies exist remain complete unknowns. Right then, a knock lands on the door, and they are told the queen wishes to see them, so they head to the castle. Most of it lies in ruin after Clevitus's strike, but the throne room still stands, so everyone gathers there. She thanks them for coming and says they already know why she called. First, she offers heartfelt gratitude, because without their help, Haydn would have been wiped clean off the map. Even so, Naru looks rattled, and out of nowhere she starts apologizing to Tala. Tala blinks at the sudden apology and asks what is going on, so Clen says there is nothing to fear. No matter what anyone tells her, Naru cannot stop crying and keeps calling herself unworthy to feed the future king. Tala steps in close and tells Naru she would never see her as unworthy. To Tala, Naru is a savior. The whole time Luna was missing, Tala's biggest fear was that he would go hungry without his mother there to feed him. Finding out Naru cared for him in her place left her deeply relieved, And Naru says hearing that from Tala is an honor she will never forget. Then she adds in a dead serious tone that even her milk tanks are at his service whenever he wants. From there, the queen tells everyone to ask for whatever they want. Land, money, a title, or even tickets to a Nicki Minaj concert if that's their thing. Alicia actually gives the idea of a title some real thought, since the sound of it carries weight. Clan already knows his request. He says he wants to remain here in the castle and serve as Luna's magic instructor. And with that, we have reached the end of the first season. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will catch you in season 2. Do not forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe, and smack the bell so you do not miss what is coming next.